Egg.
Hello! Circle Lurk, my understanding is this will be a rightoid woman. I'm not super familiar with rightoid personalities, to be honest, as you might not be shocked to hear. Ashley St. Clair, why is that name familiar? That's not the communism kills person, is it? Who's Ashley St. Clair? Her name is familiar. Why is her name familiar? On Timcast sometime. Yeah, I don't watch that shit. Yeah, I don't know why I know her name. Maybe I've seen it retweeted or something. My understanding, though, is that she is a rightoid. No, she's not going to be someone saying, the dang old right! Hey, they're all misogynists. The right is trash. No, this lady does not look Jewish enough to be communism kills. Never mind. Whatever. Not super familiar with these people, okay? Not super familiar, but I've been challenged. Yes, I went to McDonald's today. They had free they don't have crowns like Burger King does because it's McDonald's, but they have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Hello Kitty crossover event. So I took one of the Hello Kitty things. I think there's also the black chicken thing you can get, and a couple of other ones, maybe a Yu-Gi-Oh! One. They're on the... Ronald McDonald doesn't want you to know this. The little paper hats on all the tables, they're free. You can just take them. I have 300 paper Hello Kitty hats. Also, Lucky B has been working on the OmniUke channel art. Oh, it's huge. The biggest file I've seen in my life. Oh god, I'm shrinking it. I'm shrinking it real slow. Just relax. There we go. Here's the banner, the OmniUke banner. Yeah. The idea is go for like a Hawaiian shirt type. Bunch of flowers. There are secret sorbets, secret spiders in there, stuff like that. Dog whistle, of course. Where's the OmniUke channel about? OmniUke. Everything on ukulele. Right? Simple as. Who knows where Nettle is? Could be anywhere. Hang on. Actually, besides me talking about ukulele, thank you for the snubs. There will be like a higher quality version of like this video will go up with the audio mixed a bit better and louder, stuff like that. Yeah. So there'll be video game music, there'll be popular music. We're gonna have this track going up in high quality. We're gonna have Shady Lane by Pavement. We're gonna have Cosmic Temperance from Loop Hero. We're gonna have all sorts of different stuff. Why Hawaiian shirt design? Why do you think Ashred? Think about it. Think about it, Ashred. Why a Hawaiian shirt? Are you appropriating from Hawaiian culture, you piece of shit? Yeah. Absolutely. It's good. On top of that, though, I don't just use the ukulele for video games and popular stuff. Look, I've paid my dues. I've paid my due. Wait, what do I think about TBYS ignoring Noah point about his sneak editing? Which one? He addressed one of them. Stop Zuckerberging. Yeah, so little pieces like that. I talk over it so that you have to subscribe to my new ukulele channel to actually hear it properly. But, hang on, I shouldn't have to scroll that far. God, AI is fucking creepy, right? Look at this. It's too real. It's too real. The campfire edit was addressed. Do the whole one is pretty good. Let me scroll up. I stole this from the Discord. Did I not show it? I thought I showed it. I'm pretty sure I did. Real spooky. Me crawling out of Silent Hill and into oblivion. What else we got? Hold up. Hang on. Hold up. Where is it? I need to show you. Yeah. I have Hawaii cred. I don't just use a ukulele to play. I don't play any hipster shit. I play real music, and look, I've paid my dues. I have quite a big fucking traditional Hawaiian music repertoire. For instance, you can't complain that I'm not respecting the culture. I know the legit stuff. I'm not fat like Brada is. But, you know. Hello, friend. Do you want to earn significant revenue while growing your Kick channel and getting No. I'm good. I don't want to get scammed, Alison Becker. Thanks for the message on Kick, though. Thank you. Five-string ukes are kind of popular. I should learn that again and do a nice video recording of it. I don't have the old video anymore, just the recording. So I should record it again.
If I pay you, will you watch a live stream of my day and react to it?
Nope. Well, it depends how much you pay me. It would cost a lot to get me to do that. That piece is very hard, though, and will take me a long time to learn again. Take me a long-ass time to learn again. H-Bomber Guy fans mad at you? Yeah. They're all just plagiarizing each other. So, I've been challenged to watch the Trigonometry interview with Ashley St. Clair. Comment on it. See, again, you're faking your videos? What do you mean? I mean, I'm going to have to learn it again and then record it and play it so I can have like a clean, clear, high-quality recording of me playing Tarantella Italiana. That's going to take a long-ass time of practice, though. I'm too rusty to play it straight away. Learning faker, true. If you practice an instrument, it means your performance is fake. You have to just go and play it. But before we peep this, I've been sent a Vosh video. Vosh is in New York. He's I presume what at this point it's got to be about the presidential election, probably. At this point. whatever Progressive Victory are doing. They are Biden guarding. They're trying to keep New York blue, I presume. I presume that's what they're trying to do. All right. I've been told this is worth looking at.
So.
Oh, here you go.
All right, everyone. Up next is Alec Gunther. I'm leading him in.
Oh, Alec Gunther. I don't know. Vosh has like tiny person body language, and like anime glasses push. I don't know about this.
And because it might look like he's taller than me and yoked, and it's just a trick of the eye. It's just the camera. It's not.
Why does he sit like a little boy? I don't know. Is it just me being crazy? Am I insane?
Well, thank you. That's very flattering. I appreciate it.
Seriously though, you've been hitting it.
Have I now?
You must have been, right?
I've been trying
You've
to.
been eating
more
your fucking Wheaties. Where'd those shoulders come from, man?
I mean, I've had them ever since my football days.
Yeah, why is he surprised? The one thing Alec Gunther has, undeniably, is a big frame and muscles. He used to be like even bigger, but like the one thing he's got undeniably is that. I feel like that must hurt Alec a bit for Vosh to be surprised. Like what? He's just fat? No! Alec is legitimately very muscular and was huge as fuck.
So, yeah, I've been trying to work out more lately, but man, it's been rough. I just went for a walk I
Told you. I warned you about that walk, didn't I?
Yeah, it was hot out there. It was a blazer, and so that's why I'm sweaty right now.
All right. Didn't mess up. I've been told there's some sort of language mess up. He said it was a blazer. I could have made the mistake of saying it's a flamer, perhaps. Okay, he survived.
No, because it was very dumb of me to do. But like, my endurance has taken a nosedive lately. I don't know what it is. I just am.
Long COVID. It's over. It's over.
I'm trying to get back to the gym, but
You're inhaling like a few milliliters of water every time you breathe, so like it probably isn't doing like phenomenal for your endurance.
yeah, no.
I think this is just the Vosh meet and greet, right? The Vosh meet and greet. Trade picks. Who knows what else?
I don't know. It's just I've been trying to get back into it, but like people have been talking about like my Discord.
I mean, I slouch at the computer chair. They tell me sit up straight. I forget. Yeah, just in case people watching don't know, normally.
Oh, talks with creators for like 10 minutes.
Of course, I stream from Seattle. Seattle's 100% humidity is like nothing. It doesn't feel like anything. Over here, again, the air is saturated with water. We move like this through the, walking around.
Yep.
It's crazy.
We move like this through the walking around. It's live. It's live. It's live. I do bumbly shit like that too, but still.
I grew up in Cincinnati, and we're like in a valley, and so it's like, when it's humid, it is humid. So I'm used to it, but still doesn't stop me from getting all gross and sweaty. So
you never really get used to it, right? You just like learn to accept it and move on with your.
Why did you link this to me? This is insanely boring. Fuck you.
You just kind of deal with it. Yeah.
It better hit
you just
something.
kind of wade through the air, like, here we go again. Gotta, if you don't want to go on a walk or anything, you just kind of power through. So
My travels around the world, I guess, have led me to believe that it is genuinely insane that we don't have a belt of like 8 billion people living in the like Pacific Northwest, Spain, and like the other temperate, you know what I mean? Because like the weather in, say, Oregon or Central California is heavenly. It's godlike compared to every other place on Earth. Nothing else even comes close, except for the other areas that are like it. I don't know why there aren't more people.
Am I schizophrenic, or did Alec just instinctively do the product placement trick? Am I crazy?
Or Central California is heavenly. It's godlike compared to every other place on Earth. Nothing else even comes close, except for the other areas that are like it.
Oh no, he just brought it up to his face wrong and then corrected it. I thought he was lifting it to drink and then put the hole into a weird position so that the so that the label would show. No, he just lifted it up wrong, then corrected it, which incidentally makes the logo point towards the camera. He just drank wrong and fixed it. Never mind.
I don't know why there aren't more people there, man. Where are they?
I don't know.
Fucking San Francisco housing policy. Like
Listen, you're living life on easy mode, all right? The rest of us are out here in the trenches. We're living life on hard mode. That's all I'm saying. So
Okay.
I mean, certainly when it comes to humidity.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, we get our heat in LA, but not the humidity.
Yeah,
How many times growing up did you hear people say it's not the heat, it's the humidity?
a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Yeah, we got that a lot.
Think we'll ever evolve out of saying that?
Not really, especially in Ohio.
Just streaming small talk. I've been told the challenge. I have 2 challenges today, and I saw Spoons in the chat. I have 2 challenges. Watch this without dying, and survive this. So we'll see.
I feel
This challenge was given to me by Nicandros.
like Ohio is kind of a breeding grounds for just repeating things like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Because you're looking for like a glint of normalcy in the otherwise, SCP-ridden wacky wonderland that is Ohio, right?
Yes, it is. It's interesting. I've heard we have monsters there. Apparently, there was like a meme going around about like a bunch of what is it? SCP monsters?
Right, Siren Head,
Yeah.
the Skibbity Toilet,
Skibbity Toilet, yeah,
events with
yeah.
the radio head thing. No, that's a band. With the camera head guys, all of that presumably something in the.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you seen Skibbity Toilet?
I have, yeah. Both online and IRL. I've seen a few Skibbity toilets running around in Ohio.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It's art, It's. I actually thought that Skibbity Toilet was very good. I thought it was a very artistic masterpiece.
Oh, like unironically.
I agree. Skibbity Toilet is quality. It's a good old Gmod animation. It's got good old YouTube poop animation. But why?
I'm
You're
just
talking
happy to
about
see
this.
people using source mod filmmaker.
It is
Again,
fun.
I kind of grew up on those,
Yep.
so it feels nice.
All that
Carry
Gmod
on.
stuff, baby. It's it's nice to see the younger generation really throwing it back. You know what I mean? Throwing it.
Oh no! Okay, that's pretty good. Oh God. I didn't. I wasn't ready. Okay.
Yep.
So it feels nice.
All that Gmod stuff, baby. It's it's nice to see the younger generation really throwing it back. You know what I mean? Throwing it, not like that. Throwback. That's what I meant.
I was waiting for you to pick up that drop ball.
Oh man. Holy shit. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What a good fumble. It's nice. That's one of the best lines I've ever heard in my life. It's nice to see the younger generation throwing it back. Quote from Alec Gunter talking to Vosh. Bro! Reality is funnier than any sketch show. Amazing.
Oh God, that's gonna be clipped.
No.
It's fine.
Damn straight. He said it's fine. We have consent. We have consent. It's not a doggy style joke. It's a doggy style misspeak. Alright. Okay. Right. Hang on, let me drop this. Bam. Forgot to drop the notif. We've dropped the notif. I'm gonna learn I'm going to learn. So I don't follow online figures very much. Okay? Or rather, the more, I presume, mainstream. I presume this Ashley fellow is mainstream. Ashley lady, whatever. I tend to follow more niche people, and there are exceptions like Brianna Wu. I'm a Gamergate veteran. I have awareness of Wu. This Ashley person, I don't know. It's time to learn. It's time to learn about the rights problem with women. Perhaps the problem will turn out to be women themselves. Has a woman problem. Like if you say, I've got a cockroach problem, you're not saying you wanna do things to make it nicer for cockroaches. Let's see. I'm going into this without any look, I'm gonna try not to bias myself, okay? I won't read the comments. Okay, fine, I read some of the comments. Relax. Has she ever said something like feminism was on the right path up until like the third wave or something? She one of those? I'm an old feminism was right, you know, but then, you know, then it went off the rails. I'm the true feminist. We'll see.
Andrew Tate's not the problem, because if you take Andrew Tate away, you still have this massive group of young men who were clinging to that message on shows like the Whatever podcast. Okay. They're bringing them on for this humiliation porn. I think you're going to be really surprised at the number of people, the number of men who do have options, who are choosing to have AI girlfriends or live in this digital world. I don't think people realize how historic it is.
Maybe I would be. I have a sneaking suspicion the number isn't going to be stated. This is just the intro, okay? This is the intro, all right?
Not only to spend $44 billion for free speech,
oh,
but to have someone who goes and tells Disney and their mountains of money, fuck off.
Oh,
I don't need you. I think that's monumental.
Illegal immigration, which is something you've been focusing on a lot, is it's insane.
So we have more people, almost more people coming here illegally just under the Biden administration than the entirety of Ellis Island.
Ashley Sinclair.
I gotta admit something, despite being American, I'm not very tuned into US immigration issues. I'm all at the moment tuned in on yay, thank you conservatives for having not increased immigration as much as Labour might have, and now watch as Labour wins and takes over everything. Good job! Yay!
Welcome to Trigonometry.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to finally sit down with you guys.
I'm a big fan. We're both big fans of all the stuff that you put out. You're very funny. We met a couple of weeks ago, so we thought we'd sit down and have a conversation.
For a woman, right?
Ugh! Okay.
All right, funny for a woman.
For a woman. Now, this is actually...
What's an example of something funny? I feel like you should put like a... Does she tweet? Is she a stand-up? I don't know what she is. Okay, I'm going in blind.
One of the things that we wanted to talk a little bit about, because...
Women.
Yeah. Because the online conversation, certainly in our space, about women has kind of gone a little bit crazy.
I think you said it really succinctly when you described the sphere. You called it the retardo sphere.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what it is right now. And it's, for whatever reason, so much of the right is devolving into these Andrew Tate-isms, which, good or bad, I just think there's a lot more important conversations we could be having than whether or not it's been a good thing that women vote. And that's...
Yeah, well, obviously not.
But I also think a lot of these people who say, and for those unfamiliar, there's a lot of discourse.
Don't let him derail you, honey. Keep going.
Eating
Push through
the right on the 19th Amendment, whether or not the 19th Amendment was a good thing.
She just looked annoyed that he interrupted.
If we repealed the 19th, if women didn't vote, we'd always have a Republican president. Well, you could apply that to other groups as well, besides women.
Yeah.
But it's just acceptable to hate women and say these things.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
About women. Yes, if only white men voted, we would always have a Republican president. But that's not the reality. We're not going backwards. Women vote more than men. That's just the reality of the situation. So I think it's it's such a pointless conversation, but it's taking up so much of the dialogue that they want to blame women for all of the
Is it too nitpicky to say is it too nitpicky to go in on the framing women vote more than men? I'm imagining we're in the future. Look, we're not going back. Women get to vote 2 times each. Men get to vote once. Okay?
ails in society, which I just think is absurd.
Why do you think it's happening? And 2 questions. A, do you think
Okay.
it reflects in any way like the normal person on the street? Because I'd probably argue it doesn't.
In a way, I want to say it doesn't. I don't think most people would say we should repeal the 19th, but I think
Yeah, I think that's a fair
I
comment.
think most, especially
I mean, a lot might accidentally. You remember the old, do you remember the old "Let's End Women's Suffrage" petition?
young men
Granted, that's people not aware of what a term means, ostensibly, but still.
I think if you ask them who's Andrew Tate, they would know that answer. I
Yeah.
think they've seen his content, they've digested this content, and so often when
The average person on the street has seen and digested his content. I'm not sure about that one.
the topic of Andrew Tate comes up,
Although again, I'm not in the US, okay? I'm not in the US. I'm in the UK, and I have been since I was 5 or 6.
I always say Andrew Tate's not the problem, because if you take Andrew Tate away, you still have this massive group of young men who are clinging to that message because I think for whatever reason, men do not.
That message. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Andrew Tate says quite a few things. I don't think Andrew Tate is simply a guy saying repeal the 19th. Could be right. No, I couldn't be wrong. I've watched enough Andrew Tate to be aware that that is not it.
Not really have role models or anybody to guide them in any way. So Andrew Tate is the loudest in saying these things. And then I think there's these folks in the right wing like Charlie Kirk who are clinging on to it because they see it's popular and they're grifting off of that narrative. So all of a sudden, Charlie Kirk, who runs one of the most important organizations on the right, they're bringing in millions and millions of dollars. All of a sudden, he's repeating these Andrew Tate-isms that, women should just not work. They should stay at home. Even though his organization was built on women sacrificing their 20s and working at his organization, it's fundamentally absurd, that he's...
You're talking about the fundamental absurdity, but she's not talking about the actual foundation of what he's saying. My take is that a lot of the reason he appeals isn't the conclusions that he comes to, the more extreme points, but the base level thing. She's talking about fundamental absurdity, but not talking about the fundamental claims he makes about men and women. She's concerned with, he says women shouldn't work, women should stay home, whatever. I think what really appeals to a lot of people, I suggested this before, is his message. He's explicitly stated multiple times the idea about what's great about being a man is that no one cares about you. Some people can look at it as a curse, but it's a blessing. You are expected to create your own value, to become something worthy. That appeals to guys. That's selling them a fucking adventure.
spending his time as someone who's that important on the right to say, well, you know what, women, if you don't get married in your 20s, you're less desirable at 30. This is a man who married his wife at 31.
Yeah, and the fundamental thing that I think we can all agree
Hey, if you wanna diss him on that, you can say he's the will to power, blah 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 blah.
with is when people have these conversations, I think to myself, number one, you're a moron. Let's be brutally honest about it. And number two, you're not a serious person, because we have got very serious problems within our society that need dealing with. You've just touched on one of them, the cultural element of young men lacking role models, lacking direction, feeling purposeless. Why are we not talking about that? And why are you talking about the fact that if a woman does...
I'm not sure about the lacking. What is the lack in role models point that keeps coming up? I'm missing it. There are certain people who lack role models. Although, yeah, I guess more and more divorce, more and more broken families. But I don't think the people who are into Andrew Tate are necessarily coming from broken families who had no dad to model behavior for them, to be a role model. I don't. That's gonna be like part of it, acting as a role model. No, most of them are. Are you sure?
Doesn't get married by the age of 30, she's barren, dry, and all the rest of it, and fundamentally undesirable. Don't clip that. It's not what I think.
Because it's attention porn, right? It's more attractive to watch, and very much society hasn't changed that it's really fun to watch.
Like I feel like a lot of his appeal is the same. The reason, or a chunk of the reason people are drawn to him, at least this is my perspective, trying to figure out why he appeals to people. His message has a similar draw to becoming self-employed versus traditional employment. Instead of going down a track that's preset, trying to follow a path that's already been laid out, it's make your own value. You can't rely on anyone else to do it for you. You have to take risks. You have to turn yourself into something worthwhile.
Which be burned at the stake, right? It's really fun to watch this humiliation of women on shows like the Whatever podcast.
Jesus Christ wants you to do OnlyFans work, just so that we're clear.
Yes.
If God
I feel like that's like the true very base. The very base, and then everything else ultimately stems one way or another out of that. Maybe it's a misread.
wanted you to do OnlyFans, then what would Satan want you to do?
To stop doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, why do you think he'd want you to stop?
Because I love making sexual content.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you think that God, his preference would be that you continue to make sexual content on your OnlyFans?
Yes. He wants me to do it.
You have these women who they know, they're just OnlyFans models. They're not exactly the brightest bulbs in the bunch. They're not bringing them on for intellectual conversation. They're bringing them on for this humiliation porn. And I think that's become really attractive and rewarded in algorithms. This sort of...
That's become really rewarded in algorithms. What a weird way of phrasing it.
Nastiness, this division of the sexes is rewarded a lot more than talking about what you or I or so many people might find more important. For example, what's something you might find more important than the gender divide? You could name a plethora of things. The issue in this country and the world and the West is not the division of the sexes. We're not going to look back and define this era by,
where are we going with this?
By the division of the sexes or by the female era. We're never going to call it that. Our times are defined by technology and our innovations. So we should be focusing more on that.
Is she saying it's a problem or is it not? I thought she was going down the path of saying it's a big problem.
What's going on in terms of technology as opposed to whether or not this woman's a 3 or 4 or whatever it is. I think that's fundamentally absurd.
This is the question I was going to ask you. For me, I've said this for a very long time.
She's saying Andrew Tate. She's saying specific examples. Andrew Tate's not the problem. Then we go to, if without Andrew Tate, there'd still be the Whatever podcast. Now it's the problem isn't the gender divide and that conflict at all.
And I said that,
or rather, it's not a big deal. What are we doing here? What are we talking about here?
It's about... There was a moment probably 5 or 6 years ago when sort of like these really dumb feminist narratives were rampaging through the culture. The air conditioning in office buildings is sexist. All that. And likewise, now when you see the opposite thing, where it's like anyone who wants to put a wedge between men and women it's not a healthy influence on our society. So the question for me is, where do you think this male thing is now coming from?
Right. Hey, maybe I have a poor perspective on degree and popularity. I'm pretty sure the degradation of bimbos has been a core of Western culture for decades. It's what is reality TV? What is reality TV? My girlfriend watches Love Island all the time. I watched Big Brother on TV as a kid. Look at fucking Jade Goody. We've always put a spotlight on retarded bimbos and laughed at them.
I think it's really attractive to a really dumb population.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice. Also, disclaimer, I'm not gay, but the guy on the right has nice glasses. I'm pretty sure that's Tom Ford. Pretty sure he's wearing Tom Ford glasses.
Think men, and especially those who are, men are having less sex than ever. It's really easy to blame women for...
Men are having less sex than ever. She's phrasing things... She said women vote more than men, as opposed to saying more women vote than men. Now she's saying men are having less sex than ever. If you average it, it might be true, but isn't the issue people normally bring up more that less men are having sex than ever? You know, the increased virginity issue or whatever.
Things that are going...
Like the way she says it might technically be true if you take an average, but isn't what's more important? There's a larger number who have zero versus the average man is having less sex.
Going wrong right now.
Yeah.
It's really easy to point to that and say it's women's fault that the country's going down the toilet. It's women's fault that I'm not getting laid. It's women's fault that I'm alone. I think it's a lot easier to say that than to self-analyze what they're not doing right. What society...
Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to say there's a piece of the puzzle that's being missed. I agree. For things like having a romantic or sexual relationship or whatever, probably a bad idea to blame the people you want to have sex with or have a relationship with. But that doesn't mean you're not in a system that pushes them down a path that makes it so that even if you were to improve yourself in healthy ways or do whatever, it might be impossible for you, or it might be that the game itself is warped in an unhealthy way, for instance. But she's about to say society, so...
Society as a whole is not doing right. I think there's a lot... We have a loneliness epidemic. We have,
But I don't think what Tate says precludes a societal analysis. And I don't think podcasts or whatever, the show like whatever cast or whatever, all those ones that have the retarded bimbos on, the swarm of retarded bimbos in the back. I don't think they're trying to address that. In fact, I'm pretty sure whenever I see clips from those shows and they have guests, the guests are always given like advice for men. Here's what's wrong with women. Here's what's wrong with you. They own the dumb bimbo, and they say, "Here's what you got to do as a guy. You gotta hold your frame. You gotta hold your frame. Don't let her take the frame." I always hear stuff like that. So they do talk about improving yourself, even on stuff like that.
Confidence.
You might disagree with the advice, but still.
Epidemic. I think there's more people than not on both sides, whether it's men or women, who are just fundamentally crawling out of their own skin. They have no sense of identity.
People on both sides are crawling out of their skin, slithering around on the ground, with no epidermis. They have no sense of identity. Purpose, maybe. Fumbling around for what should I be doing? What should I actually be doing? I'm surviving and I'm seeking pleasure, maybe, at most. But maybe they don't feel driven to a goal or something, but no identity? I guess that's linked, but I don't know. I don't look at the kids. Hey, that's fine to say. Normally when I say something like that, I've said something horrible accidentally. I do not look at the kids. I do not pay attention to the younger generations. Maybe I should. But, lack of identity.
It's not
Explain.
really, I think especially my generation, Gen Z, and even millennials, they're defined by narcissism, which I don't think that's accurate at all. And Bo Burnham, if you're familiar with Bo Burnham, he speaks about this.
Why
and
do
he
you think
puts it
that
really
is?
succinctly. He says, it's not narcissism. It's actually, this generation is like a hyper consciousness of self.
This feels like splitting of hairs, but carry on.
It's the first generation that has social media and this performative nature where it's like, you want to perform, this is the market's answer. Now perform everything all the time for everybody. And
Which might lead you to being what? Hyper-awareness of other people's perception of you might lead you to be what? Maybe a bit narcissistic. Particularly once you get a taste of approval.
they're sitting back and watching their life as a satisfied audience member, which is so dystopian. So it's not.
I think the response to them being defined that way isn't to generalize and say they're all doing this. You can say it's not fair because the figures you know from this generation are figures that have come out of social media where making it there is connected to a hyper-awareness of appearance and a hyper-focus on self, and that will breed narcissism. So their stars, the younger generation stars, are coming out of that environment, and everyone in that generation is being painted with their brushes if they're narcissists. And the people who are chasing those figureheads are trying to go down the path are going to look like that too. They're going to behave like that. But they're not everyone. They're not necessarily reflective of the whole. They're just the people you see because they're on social media. If I was going to try and defend them, I'd go down that path.
Like this narcissism, it's hyper consciousness of self, and I think we're more insecure than we've ever been, despite looking in the mirror more than we ever have.
I completely agree with you, but just to touch back on what's going on with the right.
I think the hyper self-awareness is more important in explaining how should I say it, the puritanical tendencies online. People who've grown up aware of the idea of you can be cancelled for anything in your past scenario. Don't want that to happen. The hyper-vigilant puritanical elements online can be explained with that. I don't know about the narcissistic streak being explained with that.
Part of the problem that I have is the left overuse these terms, racism, misogyny, to the point where they don't mean anything.
Feels like we've done a big jump.
And actually people who are genuinely racist and misogynistic go, I'm not a misogynist because you said X was misogynist because he said there's two genders, right? But what I see on the right is actual genuine misogyny.
Yes.
It's a hatred of women.
Yes. And I don't know that that's organic, and I maybe stepping.
AstroTurfed woman hatred. Let's go. Let's go. Are we going to have a misogyspiracy?
Into my own conspiracies here, but
Oh! Okay. Who is she going to say is architecting the gender divide? Is she going to say... Ooh, I don't know enough about her. Is she going to say... Is she going to say it's a Democrat psyop? I don't know enough about her to know what she'd say.
I don't think it's coincidental that right before the election, the right becomes the exact caricature of
Okay.
what the left had said the right was for years, and it wasn't. You know, many of us on the right knew that the right was not, you know, this anti-Semitic, misogynistic group of folks, and now all of a sudden we're seeing this rise in misogynistic rhetoric and people who fundamentally believe that women shouldn't vote and people who
Okay.
fundamentally are siding with the people taking over our universities right now. I think I don't think that's organic. I think there's a lot
Okay.
more foreign bot farms and outside influences boosting
Like what?
these people in the retardosphere than we have any idea
Boosting the retardosphere sounds pretty cool.
about right now.
And it's also
In order to?
In order to cause that division, because
I'll be real. Currently, I don't think anti-Semitism is going to work as a smear on the right. given how Israel-Palestine's playing in the West right now, I don't think that's really a problem for the right currently.
if you look at it, and whether people agree with it or not, what is the top issue going into this election?
They're making the right look anti-Semitic. Oh, so the other side might be more open to them. Like, what? I feel like we're still in fairly open season on that.
And to be-
Immigration and the economy would be the top two.
Maybe for a Republican, but you know, generally it's
And sorry, what did she say?
division, because if you look at it, and whether people agree with it or not, what is the top issue going into this election? And to be-
Immigration and the economy would be the top two.
maybe for a Republican, but you know, generally it's the issue of abortion and women's rights. That's what the left is focusing on. That's what they're running ads on.
Really?
Yes, the left is running ads on abortion. They're hyper fixating on this abortion issue.
Now, I'm not in the US, so I'm not seeing them. The online leftoids certainly talk about it, but they're not pushing that. They're not pushing that for the upcoming election, the presidential election. I haven't seen it. I could be ignorant.
On women's issues. That's what they're hyper fixating on. I don't think
Hyper fixating? There's no fucking way they're hyper fixating, or I would have noticed.
Republicans have really put enough emphasis on how much the Karens in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania are running the election, and whether they like it or not, women are voting, and they vote more than men. You know, they're doing more activism than men. They do more volunteer hours than men. They are making more of a political difference than men are, whatever men want to say about that.
Okay. Sounds like the gender divide is a really big deal then. Sounds like the gender clash is a really big deal then? The thing you said was important, and then you said, oh, it's not just Andrew Tate though, and then you said none of it's important. And this period isn't going to be characterized by that. Now it's I would take this to mean it's extremely important.
On the left or the right. I think it's fundamentally really damaging to allow this rhetoric to go on, this misogynistic rhetoric.
I'm just trying to delve deeper into the conspiracy. Are you saying this is kind of deliberate to get Republicans to look dumb and offensive so that they lose the election?
I believe so. I really believe that this is boosted by things that are inorganic, because when you look at the engagement on some of these accounts, it is bananas. At least I don't want to believe that many people truly hold those sentiments, and maybe I'm just too optimistic about humanity and people, but I don't think it's organic at all, that all of a sudden this is sprouting up and we have this many people who...
How do you think you look to me? How do you think this fucking video looks to me, personally?
Power chat over cock for the streamer $10 Superberry. Yo, I hope you have a nice Sunday.
Thank you. I want to hear who this psyop is flipping away. from the right who has gone, because of this stuff, because of the popularity of Andrew Tate, I'm no longer a right-winger. What are the numbers on this? What? And I don't mean some fucking, like, e-girl saying that. I mean, do we have analytics on this? Well, what is it?
Genuinely believe that women shouldn't vote. I don't believe that's the case.
Do you not think that every side of the political spectrum has a shadow? The left has a shadow, which is the anti-Semitism in particular. They've got their own version of misogyny.
The centrists have actual Shadow the Hedgehog,
which we've seen, and the right do as well. Normally, you see with people who are far to the right, it's a hatred of, LGBT people, and also misogyny as well. Do you not think that this is just an unmasking?
I think there is some of that. And I think there's some people who really, truly believe that. And I think there's some people who truly believe women are just objects. They really don't have the same value as men. They don't even have an understanding of women's roles throughout history. They don't.
There's kind of a flip on this. This I see a lot. The critical characterization of people like Andrew Tate and what they say, and the people who follow him, what they think. They characterize it as them thinking women don't have value. When I listen to it, it's like they're saying the opposite. Women are inherently valuable, and that's what leads to the objectification. Men have no inherent value. They are the sex with the small, worthless gametes. The small gamete sex. No inherent value. And you have to make yourself valuable and do something worthwhile because you are not inherently valuable. In contrast with women, who they view as being so. The critics of it, their interpretation of it, is that they're saying women have no value, men have the value. I think that's a very, very common disconnect. I don't really know what to say about that other than to diagnose and recognize that this occurs, but
understand how impactful women have been throughout all of history. Even when they were at home, they were running, our society. They were running the schools. They were raising the children. They were running all of our philanthropic issues and
philanthropic. It's a misspeak, but fine. It's fine.
Volunteerism and the activism. They were really fundamental throughout society, and those people won't recognize that, but I think that's a small subset.
I'm not saying they're worthless because they're small. The small gametes are always the abundant ones.
Section, I really do think there's something worse.
At least I think so. I don't know of any example of the eggs being small and sperm being large. But then I guess you wouldn't. It then wouldn't really be that's the sperm and that's the egg anyway.
On because why is all of this content allowed on YouTube?
Well, I guess it would be like a creature that has where the males produce massive sperm and then the female has a tiny egg. Normally the small gamete just is the abundant one, yes.
YouTube, who has been, at the forefront of we need to protect those who are, a protected class.
Like, I don't even know how it could work.
And women typically fall on YouTube. YouTube, who has been, at the forefront of we need to protect those who are, a protected class. And women typically fall into that class. Right. So why all of a sudden is all of this content allowed on YouTube that is terribly misogynistic, that's terribly degrading to women?
This is actual some fucking tinfoil shit. I think owning bimbos has always been allowed on YouTube, but also YouTube, I want to say, has generally been taken off the clamps and has been for quite a while. But this is... YouTube has strategically allowed topics to make the right look bad. I'm not
women 304, saying they shouldn't vote. When I don't think that would have been allowed, years ago. I just don't. I think that would have been removed from the platform swiftly.
Do you not think? Okay, we're just stress testing this idea because it's interesting,
Yes.
right? So one of the obvious challenges that I think some people would put to this is that we've had, and
I suppose it's easier to go, if you hold this opinion, if you share this opinion, you're buying into a psyop, than to argue against them. So
this isn't even a devil's argument thing. It's
advocacy thing, devil's advocate, whatever. Yeah.
Genuine. I think it's fair to say that over the last 20, 30 years, you're too young probably to remember the Gillette ads of the 90s, but it was all about men being good. It was all about men looking after their kids. It was all about men going out to work. It was all a celebration of healthy masculinity.
Trad Gillette.
And then fast forward a few years and Gillette ads are about, you're a piece of shit, buy our razor. That's kind of the message, right?
Yeah.
So
was it Gillette who have the body block, the body check ad where the guy's following a woman and the black guy steps out and goes nah, mate?
And then men are increasingly struggling in education.
I love those fucking ads. Healthy masculinity is taking any opportunity you can to be physically confrontational. Do you want that world? I don't know that you want that world.
Comparatively to women, we know statistically speaking that women want to be dating men who are on their level or above in all sorts of different ways, including financially. So
is she nodding or just vibrating?
The opportunity for men to find a mate are reduced. They're being told that they're toxic and this and that and whatever. You put all that together, I'm not condoning it because I don't think it's the right response, being resentful and bitter about that for a man. Sure. But do you not think that some of it is just an organic reaction to the demonization of men over a decade?
She's thinking. If her answer isn't anything other than, yeah, there are literally angry as fuck guys who will point directly to all that stuff.
Or two, or however long it's been going on.
Yes, I think that's also part of it. I think men have been demonized. I think there's a war on masculinity because it threatens any system of power. But I think when we die,
I think there's a war on masculinity because it's a threat to any system of power. Gender wars, gender divide, not a big deal. What is going on? I'm getting mixed signals. I'm getting mixed signals. Is this what it's like to try and date if you're not autistic?
into, okay, well, women are more likely to graduate, women do better in school now. Those are all facts. I also think women are just better at being oppressed and being, turning into these, because who created the school system, the modern school system, as we know it today? That was the Rockefellers. And why did they do that? That was because they wanted better workers, not better thinkers. And women are really good at that. They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. And boys are not. As soon as they're 8 years old, 7 years old, they're like, oh, well, you have an attention.
This feels like we're speed running every talking point regarding the difference between men and women I've ever heard in my fucking life. It's not, what should I say? This doesn't seem coherently discursive.
Disorder. We're going to put you on Ritalin, or you're going to, you're in trouble in the classroom for not sitting there and being a good little worker bee.
How did we fucking get here? So this is women are better at being oppressed. She's euphemistically saying women are weak-willed. Banana Guts 1. Thank you very much, Evan Father Salvo. Maybe she's just trying to send the message, guys, keep saying this, but say it in a nicer way. Say it in a nicer way. Women aren't weak-willed. They don't conform easily. They're not beanbag chairs who will be easily molded by the system. They're good at being oppressed. How is what she's describing less misogynistic than what people say about women and them being married to the system? How is this even that different so far?
And I think women are just taking better to that. I don't know that.
No, she's saying that women will make up oppression even when nothing is found. If you're fucking deaf, she's saying that. No. That sentence we just heard, women are taking better to the systems put in place that everyone has to go through.
Has necessarily, I think in...
Women are better at following orders.
Yes, they are better at following orders.
How are you different to the like manosphere stuff? Women are better at following orders. Men are better at taking the lead. So, women should be, under them because it's their natural What are you saying?
Naturally, I think they are. And so
She's even saying it's natural. She's saying naturally women take better to receiving orders and following them. How are you different? What the fuck am I listening to?
Grayman Media fed the streamer a $5 superberry. Women screw toxically masculine men all the time. They just call those TM, real men. Remember Destiny's Child Soldier and their other songs.
They call them Tim. I haven't listened to it, but thank you.
So men have, gotten the short end of the stick when it comes to that, and when it comes to those systems that we've created and normalized.
Hey, women are good at following orders, so the system works for them, and they're molded by it. But men, they're more strong-willed, and they need to create their own things. They need to forge their own path. Okay, Andrew Tate.
I also think.
Said Reggie fed the streamer a $5 superberry. The content of what she's saying doesn't matter because she's a woman. You're supposed to understand what she wants instinctively.
True.
There is a fundamental war on masculinity and just gender as a whole.
Yeah.
I think what that is a war on the natural world. I think we're so completely divorced from the natural world now, and gender's kind of like that last stronghold, that there's a war not only against masculinity, but femininity. I've been told, and women in my generation have been told, that the only way for us to be equal is to become you guys.
Right.
Is to become men. We have to work like you. We have to fuck like you guys. We have to do this. It's everything that makes us equal is destroying things that made us different.
Well, if once you start...
What am I fucking listening to? Why do you have a problem with the people you described as being bad examples of, masculine role models and putting out bad ideas that make the right look dumb? What is your problem with them? What the fuck am I listening to?
Insisting on this idea that equals means the same.
Yes.
Then you're going to erode all the natural differences between men and women, which are the source of the strength of human society, not weakness. Men and women being different and complementary is a source of strength.
Yes.
Right? Once you start to erode all of that, you get to the position we're now in.
Yes.
And so my question to you coming back to is...
Please, what is fundamentally the difference between you and the people you're critiquing?
Do you not think that rather than this being as much of a conspiracy to undermine the right's electoral chances, it's just a more naturally occurring backlash against that demonization of men and the erosion of femininity and masculinity that's been happening?
It's probably a combination of both. And I think there's, again, that has us go into algorithms and big tech and what they allow and don't allow. And they're really deliberate with what they allow and don't allow. As we've seen throughout, since really like 2015, they're really deliberate. So maybe some of that conversation.
She's going back from, she's sort of walking back away from, it's bot farms. It's the foreign bot farms and influence to yeah, it's a natural backlash. They're fundamentally right, but it's only blowing up because of the change to the out. They're not being suppressed anymore, and they're strategically not being suppressed. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like she has that much of a problem with what they're saying. It's almost like she's more concerned with tone, or like, yeah, say all that stuff, but also say, we're equal, though.
Conversations.
Oh, wait. Blah, blah, blah. All of this, you can say all of this, but then also say, guys, just don't say women can't vote. Is that what it is? Is that what this is, really? Just don't say. End women's suffrage.
Started happening organically because of this tension, because, naturally men and women are both feeling more disconnected than ever from their biology and the world and each other.
Men and women are feeling more disconnected from their biology. Because Andrew Tate said some things. I believe he has a tweet that says, white people be using they whole dick in sex. He said many things. He's also talking about choosing between a woman and a transgender, depending on age, for instance, I think. I don't know.
And then it's pushed into the algorithm at these insane rates, and then pushed by what I've seen looks to be inorganic. And that
what I've seen looks to be inorganic. Say more. Explain.
That's really important to consider. What is the algorithm feeding people, and why is it feeding people that?
Like, we've seen things like Andrew Tate's strategy to get people to spread his stuff, especially when he was banned and he was clamped down everywhere. He strategized. He paid people to spread his stuff, right? Or gave people, affiliate links, let them become affiliates for his program, and if people would sign up, and as a result of him share his clips. Anyway, he financially incentivized people to share his clips. So that would be an example of inorganic spread, but people do pick it up when they see it. People like it when they see it. So even if the push is inorganic, it's not fake approval and acceptance. I don't think it's a false acceptance and support of it, which she seems to be backing away from. She was saying, "Oh, it's bot farms." Now she's saying it's. She's saying the inorganic suppression has been removed, and that now it's unsuppressed. It looks inorganic, and it's being spread inorganically. I don't know. I guess she's saying both. It's AstroTurf, and it's being strategically unsuppressed.
And
I don't know.
Big tech has been really pivotal in what's pushed in these algorithms, especially before elections.
How much of this as well do you think it's pornography as well? Like, a lot of the time, if a man is not having sex, the only access that he has to sex is pornography. And let's be fair, pornography, I think we can all agree, the image of woman.
Am I the only person in the world who can just jerk off? Am I crazy?
Women is less than optimal in that type of content. Eventually, you start to see women through that lens.
Is that real? I've never bought into this. And what does that mean? Are you like you see like a woman sitting on a chair, and suddenly like the chair morphs in your mind into a fucking dildo machine? What are you saying?
Yes, and I think we're underestimating the number of people and men who would rather that digital world and who would rather watch pornography than
we're getting
have
onto
a
the
real
AI.
connection with people. I think especially as we have, these AI girlfriends and this and that, I think you're going to be really surprised at the number of people, the number of men who do have options, who are choosing to have AI girlfriends or live.
What are the numbers? Surprise me. Surprise me. Men who have options choosing the AI girlfriends. What kind of options? Are we talking like they could date Mario Fangirl 93? What kind of options are we talking about? I suspect a lot of the draw of the AI girlfriend stuff is going to be like social anxiety.
In this digital world, as opposed to this genuine human connection. I think for whatever reason, it's more of a dopamine rush for them to watch porn, as opposed to have a genuine connection and actually have to work on themselves. Because guess what? As you know, you're married.
Let me listen to this again. One sec.
To this genuine human connection, I think for whatever reason, it's more of a dopamine rush for them to watch porn, as opposed to have a genuine connection and actually have to work on themselves. Because
And actually have to work on themselves. I Can Steal Man, and she's talking about work on their personality, become more leftist. Sorry, become, you know, a better companion. We're talking about men who have options choosing to go this path. Why would they work on themselves? The people who choose that instead of working on themselves presumably will be the people who can't get a girl, and instead of working on themselves to achieve that, do that. But she was talking about people who have options, so why is this instead of working on themselves? This is instead of taking the options they supposedly have. What feels like a mess.
guess what? As you know, you're married, right? It is not an easy thing to be married. You actually have to put in the work. And so often we're watching people replace what is good.
There are, for every scumbag guy, there's a scumbag woman they could date, okay?
And better for our souls with what's comfortable and more of a dopamine hit. And I think we're seeing that fundamentally. I don't know that there is this return to tradition, return to traditional marriage and, you know, general monogamy. I don't know that that's possible in the digital world because, again,
I don't know if a return to monogamy is possible in the digital world. What the fuck? I salute you, General Monogamy. It's my favorite Star Wars character, General Monogamy. Hold up.
That there is this return to tradition, return to traditional marriage and, you know, general monogamy. I don't know that that's possible in the digital world because, again, we've replaced what's good for our souls with this dopamine rush, with this digital era, with this everything's at our fingertips, as opposed to I want to be in a marriage. I want to work on myself. I want to understand another human being at the most intimate level possible. No, it's all very fast and swipe.
I imagine there are plenty of people checking out because they believe that's not possible or available. Because they believe that we're in this era she's describing. Why is all that other stuff a psyop and this fucking demoralizing black pill girl is not a psyop?
And this dopamine hit. I think it's just we've fundamentally changed the way the sexes interact with the digital age, and I think pornography is a piece of that. But
I don't think we have fundamentally changed the way the sexes interact. Ooh. I think that sort of image can be created if you're looking through blinkers, if you're looking through the lens of fucking Tinder and YouTube and TikTok content. Sure, but I don't. I'm not buying that that's the way the world is now.
they're also making that choice to do that. This is just more attractive to them.
It's also, as well, if you think about it, what the internet does in many ways is encourage isolation. We've been fed this narrative that, oh, social media connects people.
Isolation.
It doesn't connect people. It connects them in certain ways, of course. But actually, the ultimate form of connection is people sitting down and having a conversation, which is not what
I'll let him talk some more.
The internet is actually about. And I know from being a man, like I'm writing a book at the moment, if I'm isolated writing this book for certain periods of time, I come out of my room really fucking angry. And
what the fuck? Where are we going with this? Okay, why is it the real form of connecting? To sit down in real life. Sit down in real life. You're going to hear some boring shit about what someone's been doing at work and what their family's doing. If you talk to a random person sitting down, if you're talking to someone you have an intimate connection with, sure, but that's already an exceptional like one-on-one thing. Online, you have the you know, if you want to see a man's real face, let him put on a mask type scenario. The anonymity online allows people to connect at deeper levels more rapidly. Also allows you to be manipulated quite badly by being more vulnerable. I'd say almost that the level of openness online can be a problem. And perhaps one of the bonuses real life conversation has is that there is a restriction on how deep or how open you go. Right? If we're looking broadly at experiences people have, I tend to be. I feel like I'm pretty normal online, except for I say wild things sometimes. But in terms of my social interaction with strangers online, I'm pretty normy. I just talk about whatever's going on, blah blah blah. But there are people who go way too intimate, way too deep. Look at trans discords, for instance. I would have liked him to elaborate on what he means by sit down with people in real life. That's real connection. Can be, cannot be. Online, that's not real connection. Cannot be, can be. Really depends.
that anger has to go somewhere. And if you haven't done
we need to get you a new girlfriend, mate.
Yeah, what the... I come out of my room fucking angry and that anger has to go somewhere. What am I listening to?
You need to get him an AI girlfriend.
Go on a walk.
And but if you're angry and you're not, and you're young and maybe you don't understand where it comes from,
just
that has to
jerk
be
off.
directed somewhere. And what it's going to be doing is funneled wherever you spend most of your time. And if most of your time is spent online, that anger is going to be funneled right back there.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a fucking rage wank, mate. Your dick is gonna be raw. It's gonna be bloody and raw, mate.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree.
Funnel that rage right into your dick hole.
100%. But that's what we have to understand, especially the
What? Isolation means you're gonna funnel your rage into the internet. I guess, and then go look at some bimbos being degraded. Maybe. Okay.
older generations have to understand. That is the new normal.
We're the older generations, by the way, mate. Just saying.
We're young.
But especially the generation above you and the boomers, and there's a lot of this shaking at the cloud, like that Simpsons meme.
Yeah.
You know, old man yells at cloud. And that's very much, that's characterizing a lot of, you know, especially our policies around technology. There's not really an honest discussion about what the hell is happening in this new world that we're leaving our kids. You know, even 16-year-olds now. They are not getting driver's license at an alarming rate. They don't even want to go meet their friends. They don't need to. They're doing it all online. And we're...
Okay. League of Legends is a problem, I will say. League of Legends and Valorant is a problem, because it's Chinese spyware, but...
seeing this for, you know, exactly. That's the eye roll. That's the world they're in. And so how do we navigate that? You know, you used to be a teacher, correct?
Right. That is
And
my
now,
brand. Yes.
whenever I...
That's the first
Yeah.
episode in which someone else has brought that up.
Yeah,
but not him.
exactly. Exactly.
So whenever I talk to school teachers now, especially ones that may be
Alright.
a bit older,
This is... Whoa. This is... Doing, 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 still.
they always say, you know, the kids didn't used to be this way. They didn't used to have so much anxiety and depression. And this, it's like, of course they do. They're living in a whole new world, and they have not a damn person
Don't you dare close
to
your
help
eyes.
them figure out how to navigate it. Instead, we're like, well, you should get off that phone. What? You didn't...
I'm not seeing this as a Britoid living person. Not quite.
have that when you were a kid. You'd probably be on it too if you were their age. It is this infinite, awesome world where anything is possible and you have access to everything all the time. Of course, they're going to be on it. So how do we
To me, the kids are more into vaping. The kids, the 12-year-olds, they're just vaping all day, running around.
navigate that? And I don't think there's enough valuable conversations around that. We're just like, well, we shouldn't do this. Probably not, but we are.
Right.
And it's
So-
also, to go back to the porn thing, if you're a kid watching hardcore pornography, you think you don't understand that what you're being
Stop. What you're being presented is a performance and it's not normal. I did.
presented with is fantasy.
Yes.
You don't understand that what this is entertainment for one.
I gotta tell you, do you guys know, like, there's all the, like, gross, absurd porn, like, there's E.T. porn? I'm just imagining a kid watching E.T. porn and being like, holy fuck, aliens are real and they're gonna fuck my mom! Just...
Of a better term. So you think that this is how men and women interact. So then when a woman does not present herself or doesn't interact with you in the way that a porn star does, you feel cheated and angry.
I don't believe this is happening. I don't believe this is happening. I watched the porno and the women aren't acting like this. I've been deceived. Grum's tweet, have we been deceived?
Which is why you then lash out.
Yes, they do. I mean, they want this woman who's like pregnant and barefoot all the time, but also, you know, a porn star in the sheets.
Yeah.
It's this really terribly idealistic version of women, but you know, men have that too. Men have that, women have that for men. And I think everyone just needs to lower their standards. To be honest.
Well, there's the title of the episode.
Yeah.
Lower
Your standards. Ashley Sinclair, lower your standards. That will be your...
Right. If you want the guys you're talking about, the masses of angry, lonely men, to get less angry, with them looking at stats that are like, oh, 10% of the men get 90% of the women. If you have women grading men's appearance, they'll have like 90% of them being ugly, 10% being okay, but the men will say they're all pretty much in the middle and some are exceptional, some are below. If you tell those men who are losing their minds over stuff like that, just lower your standards, do you think they're going to get more angry or less angry? Which one?
You're not that great.
Thanks for looking at me whilst you say that. I appreciate that. You're not that great. Thanks, love.
I'm happily married, so you're the only one that...
And she settled for you. And
Exactly. That's find the one that will lower herself to your level.
yes, lower your standards. You're not that great.
I remember my last bowl of Magic
here we
Spoon
go.
cereal so clearly. Each
I'm going to tell you, I might try Magic Spoon, but I guess the UK brand, Surreal, the UK brand of like protein cereal, chocolate flavor, straight dog shit, weird texture, hard like rocks, almost an earthy vegetal taste underneath the chocolate, very horrible. The frosted flavor of Surreal, all right. The cinnamon I haven't tried yet. But maybe I'd try Magic Spoon. Also, all of these are insanely expensive, yes. But we've got the UK version of the the high protein cereal at the supermarket, and sometimes it goes on Nectar sale. Sometimes if you have a Nectar card at Sainsbury's, you can get it pretty cheap and a reasonable price, and that's when I get it.
spoonful, a symphony of flavour, a dance of delight on my taste buds.
I don't believe
Little
it.
did I know,
No.
it would be the last time I got to eat Magic Spoon.
Francis, snap out of it. We need to do the ad.
Right, sorry. Anyway, a couple of weeks back, the good people at Magic Spoon sent us their incredible high-protein, zero
Also, I'm being a big protein man. I'm eating fuck tons of protein. And, I'm doing my calisthenics routine every other day. Sometimes I take 2 rest days occasionally. What I found is really good is the Sainsbury's meal deal. If you get the chicken salad sandwich, you get the blueberry protein yogurt, and you get the protein drink. It's £3.50 60 or 70 grams of protein. That's what I have for lunch every day.
Sugar breakfast cereal, and I can tell you that we're already placing a new order because it's all been eaten.
Francis, remember, calm.
You can choose from the best-selling cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut.
You get AIDS if you eat this. not to disrespect the people whose content I'm reacting to, but that art, I wouldn't put anything with that art on it in my mouth. That's kind of a lie. I did drink some Globo Homo beer the other day, but, you know, if you have corpo art on food, you'll get your immune system's in danger.
Butter and maple waffle flavors.
Magic Spoon is so confident in their product that it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked.
Magic Spoon cereal. Paused vibes guaranteed.
And for our Canadian and British fans, you'll be delighted to know that Magic Spoon now ships to Canada and the UK. So click the link below or scan the QR code and use the code TRIGGER for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/trigger to save $5 off your order today.
Oh.
And now, back to the interview.
Thank you. If you're going to buy Magic Spoon, use their code.
But that's interesting. So what are the unreal?
Oh, shit.
But the ad fed the
Thank you.
streamer a $2 superberry. Zero Sugars uses sucralose, artificial sugar.
Realistic standards that women have for men, because we've spoken about the unrealistic standards for men and women that women have for women. What's the inverse?
Men
of
have
that?
for women.
Men have for women. That's the one.
I think the inverse is that, especially for women, there's this expectation that men are kind of going to be like your emotional support dog.
I don't know if that's the equivalent expectation.
And they've kind of, put their girlfriends to the side, and what we
Gonna be real, I thought she was gonna say something to do with money.
used to get from community and women just being in the village and talking all the time, we now need that from men. We need you to be our confidant, our gossip, our girlfriend in a way that lives with us all the time. It's like we've have this expectation that men are supposed to be like our emotional support teddy bear as opposed to what they are, and that's our providers, our soulmates, or whatever.
As opposed to what they are, our providers. How the fuck are you different to Andrew Tate? So, okay.
Jeb Reggie fed the streamer a $5 superberry. She is implicitly only talking to men because if you said that to her, she would call you a far-right incel.
I see. You want it to be the same. You want everything trad. You want everything trad. You want the men to be the provider. All this stuff. But not while having a keeper, while having a provider, to not lose any agency. That's called having your cake and eating it, I would suggest.
It is, and not necessarily on top of each other like we've come to be. I think this cohabitation and this connection to our partner all the time.
Provider that doesn't cohabitate. That's called an OnlyFans subscriber. What do you mean? What is being described here? I know, it's hot. Yeah, look at this. It's really hot, so my veins are coming out.
That's really perpetuated by women and some really jealous men, but women really like being connected to their partner all the time, bothering them at work, sending them a
Jealous men.
million texts. And I think that's probably not healthy. And I think women probably need to examine the behaviors that they have that are maybe a bit clingy or not innate to men's ability. Men don't want to be on top of you like that unless they're controlling or jealous.
It's so interesting you said that. My wife and I were just having this conversation because we were...
So we're referring to living together?
We're on holiday together for a week after I'd been away for a bunch of time, and we really were reconnecting and talking a lot. And at one point, I was like, okay, I'm really
Sounds like she's promoting some major reasons, or promoting a view of the world and a reality that, if you accept, is probably what leads to a lot of men being the way they are. So I don't know how effective this is.
enjoying this, but I need to go and sit in the bar for an hour. And when I came back, we talked some more, and she was like, yeah, I really need to connect with more of my girlfriends, because if I'm trying to get all my this particular need satisfied by just you, it's too much for both of us. And it's not.
My wife took me aside and said, I need women to satisfy me. Oh no!
Not what actually I
That's
need.
the best way to put it. They try to have all of their needs met by one person.
Yeah.
And then they're leaving the person that gives them 80% for someone that gives them the other 20%. And, you know, it's this constant thing. You're never going to get it from everybody. As long as they're not, you know, abusive or controlling, you know, there's a lot that you can look past and just settle for. But, you know, men used to go out and hunt for weeks at a time, and we'd be by ourselves or in the village or with our girlfriends.
You know, men used to go out to major wars, and we'd be on our own at home doing, you know, just, you know, fun stuff.
And now it's all the time. It's we're just around each other all the time, and I think it's really rather toxic.
Well, it's
in that
funny you
movie.
say that, because whenever I'm going away,
Might even send him a letter. By the way, his name would have been John. My letter would have started, you know, Dear John, and
on a trip or whatever, I say to my wife, like, I'm out hunting. I literally will say that to make myself feel better. But I was going to ask you, I mean, one of the things that I think
Seb Reggie fed the streamer a
Thank you,
$5
Seb Reggie.
Superberry. Notice how she tiptoed around having to actually describe women having high standards for men after saying people's standards are too high.
yeah, the unrealistic expectation, the inverse of men expecting women to be exactly like they are in porn, to be barefoot and in the kitchen and a porn star in the bedroom. The women version is expecting men to listen to them when they have a hard time and want to talk about it. That's fucking cap. That's absurd fucking cap.
you're very good on is tech, and we've alluded to.
I want to say something fucking crazy. I like my girlfriend, and I love my girlfriend, and if she's having a hard time, I'll talk to her about it. It's very easy to do.
Earlier, when I was in Australia, I did a few talks, and in the Q&A, someone would always ask me if I see any positive signs, and I would always mention that Elon Musk taking over Twitter really changed everything. And this is an audience of people who I wouldn't necessarily have thought of as like these young, hip, tech-aware people necessarily. He would always get a round of applause from people, because it's genuinely something that I just think a lot of people genuinely felt this was a big step in the right direction. That this cabal, and I use that term very advisedly. I'm not someone who thinks the world's run by a cabal of pedophiles in a pizza parlor or whatever the story is. But you saw the collusion between...
He'll come around. He'll come around eventually.
...in big government and big tech, particularly during COVID. And it was scary, because you go, well, they're all sitting down in a room together going, what's the right censorship policy on this? All getting together, and no one's thinking independently, and no one's thinking from first principles. So what you've had, I certainly would argue, I don't know if you agree with this, is one guy with just too much money to give a shit come in and just upend the whole system. I've been very excited by that. Not to say that Elon's perfect, because he's definitely not, because he's human, blah, 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 blah.
Because he's human, right. Twitter's better. Do I trust? Yeah, do you feel another fundamentally... Do I trust Elon's fundamental values and motivations? No. Is Twitter better than it has been for a long time? Yeah.
Of that particular thing is...
I don't think people realize how historic it is. For him not
Stop.
only to spend $44 billion for free speech.
Shut up. For someone who's concerned about conspiracy and manipulation and psyops, Elon Musk spent $44 billion for free speech. Really?
But to have someone who goes and tells Disney and their mountains of money, fuck off. I don't need you. I think that's monumental. To encourage courage and bravery. I think we don't have enough people who are brave enough to give a middle finger to the system, especially when starting in like 2015 and
we also, you know, don't have enough people with enough money to do that.
Mike Benz, if you're familiar with him, he speaks about this a lot, this essentially internet Death Star that they built within big tech and all of these companies. And I think everybody gives...
Like, Twitter still has fucked systems, though. It's definitely a component of the Death Star, but like it's a more livable component. All right.
You the round of applause because everyone's online. We're essentially already cyborgs. We are, you know, like transhumanism is already here. You said the longest you went without your phone was 2 hours lately.
I'm very proud of that.
Me, it's like when I sleep. And even then it's like by my head in case anyone needs anything. And so we're already there. And so what Elon did was historic. I think that's something we're going to look back in the history books as historic, but we need more.
Aushred, you can fucking call people retards on Twitter without getting banned. That's better. That rules. I'm sorry. That is a W.
More of that. There is such an empty space, especially with people who are even just
describing what's occurring as Elon Musk spent $44 billion for free speech. Ooh, that's a bit.
Right of center or hard Republicans in the AI and tech industry, because this is fundamentally going to change our entire world. The value of free speech.
What's the biggest cringe? I feel like the Facebook style pay for to be top of the hierarchy in reply priority and appearing and being served to people. That shit's fucked.
Which is not just really important for the constitutional value anymore. It is arguably more important because for the AI aspect, for the technological aspect, because if we're feeding the system a dishonest and filtered and biased version of humanity, you know what's going to happen? It's going to spit out recommendations based on a dishonest and filtered version of humanity.
I've been saying this for ages because if you think about it, the way that the AI is learning is from online.
Yes.
And we all know that what happens online is not reflective of like going and talking to people.
The way AI is learning is from online. Feels like that's a big statement.
On the street.
Correct. And
so
they
now,
know this.
So we're feeding it a false picture of reality. And part of the reason is people can't say what they actually think.
And that's very deliberate. And so and I think this is so illustrative of the right and just how much of a retardosphere they are. There was a clip of Kamala Harris, and I don't know if you remember this, but months ago or last year, and she's talking about AI. She was named the AI Cesar.
She was named the Kwisatz Haderach.
And again, you know, it's like humiliation porn for them to make fun of people. So this clip of Kamala comes out and she's like, AI is a fancy word. It means artificial intelligence. And it gets millions of likes and millions of Republicans and people on the right are making fun of her for saying this. She doesn't even...
Oh shit. Wait, is that real? Abe, I wasn't aware of this. The bottom tier of premium Twitter isn't no ads? I would have thought that would be the most basic feature you get. Jesus Christ.
Even know what it means. If you watch the full clip, she says,
ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
What you teach the machine then impacts the...
Right, what model is being just raw-dogged Twitter? What model is having Twitter fed raw dog into it? What are we talking about? Which one are we talking about? What do you mean?
Decisions and opinions. And that to me is the scariest thing that possibly could have come out of her mouth, is that this terribly biased administration is saying, we're going to take a focus on this machine that impacts decisions and opinions of and for humanity.
My favorite is AI to help decide who gets arrested. That's the good shit.
And the fact that Republicans aren't making that their focus, and we know more about Charlie Kirk's opinion on women working in their 20s, is a disaster. We are going to look back and they're going to shake their fist and say the left just controlled all of this, while Sam Altman, who most of them can't name, most of them could show you 47 photos of Hunter Biden's corn dog before they tell you who Sam Altman is.
Sorry, I'm going to admit something. I've never looked at Hunter Biden's penis. Does he have a crust? Sorry, is the corn dog characterization accurate?
Sam Altman is the guy asking for $7 trillion and giggling online about asking $7 trillion for these AI projects, for shaping all of humanity and the recommendations for this system. And he's in Congress, walking in there every day, talking about the regulations for AI and trying to kick the ladder out from under him.
She doesn't want to say dick, cock, or penis. Sure, she could have said hot dog. She said corn dog.
And the fact that we don't understand how much of a focus the left is putting on AI is really terrifying. That's what they're talking about at the World Economic Forum. We can make fun of the World Economic Forum all day. Do they have any idea what they're talking about there? They're talking about AI. They're talking.
Sorry. I'm constantly hearing people talk about leftists getting their fingers into AI, trying to warp it, put restrictions on it to make it their tool. What the fuck? That's what I always hear. People were going nuts over generative AI that would manipulate prompts for social equality and equity. People lose their mind over
about
it.
AI being a human right. This is verbatim. They're talking about the democratization of the access to AI, and they are talking about UN special envoys for AI. And the right has no discussion about this, no presence in the industry at all. And that is more dangerous than anything going on, in my opinion.
Do you think part of it as well is that people who are older tend to skew Republican and conservative, and people who are older...
Fair. We need a Butlerian jihad. Yeah, Siffy, that's what she's saying. You're not arguing with her. This is essentially what she's saying.
Know less about this stuff. Let's
They
be
shake their
honest.
fist and the old man yells at cloud. That's exactly right. Because when you have these old boomers in Congress and Senate that are asking the TikTok CEO, if TikTok uses Wi-Fi, I think you should be removed from office. That actually happened. And we can laugh. And we're laughing as it all crumbles.
Right.
And they
Kind of based. Politicians be too old.
grab these institutions by the balls. Because they...
Generally. Or at least they're senior and not with it. If they were with it, it wouldn't be a problem.
This is what happened. These people should be removed from office. I think if you can't name the top 5 people in the race to AI, you should be removed from office.
Nah, that's a bit too far.
Mark Zuckerberg is a supervillain in my eyes, not just because of the censorship, but because the potential for this data and this technology that he has the power to absolutely destroy the world, his AI capabilities. And when you look at the technology he has, and when you look at the data...
Okay. Now we're doing some unspecific fear-mongering. Okay, nice.
that he has. And meanwhile, he is in Hawaii raising Wagyu beef and picking macadamia nuts. If I had that much data and power and the potential to destroy the world and I'm picking macadamia nuts, that's a supervillain in my eyes. And they just don't care. They're more concerned that, this thing about the COVID jab was censored on Facebook, which is a big deal. But there's a bigger problem, and that this guy is in, and these other people like Bezos and Zuckerberg and Sam Altman, they are building the system that makes recommendations for all of humanity and filters everything, and they know not a damn thing about them.
So
the system that makes recommendations for all of humanity. There's room that could mean multiple things.
So what would you like to see happen on that?
I think we need to, so
Some of them fair and accurate, some of them wrong.
also at the World Economic Forum, one of the people on stage at one of these panels discussing AI was Governor Jay Inslee. Do you know who that is?
Does she mean like an expert system, or does she literally mean like search result recommendations? What do you mean makes recommendations for all of humanity?
Yes.
No, I don't.
He
So-
is, I don't know how much you know about the state of Washington here, but you can't really get further left than the state of Washington and Oregon. This is Antifa leftist central. And Jay Inslee, who's the governor of Washington, is on the stage talking about the University of Washington partnering with Microsoft and a Chinese university to go into machine learning and all of this stuff. He's also talking about the apprenticeships that they're guaranteeing for coders. The left is doing this, and the right should absolutely be doing this. They should be guaranteeing apprenticeships for coders. They should be guaranteeing that we're in these industries, that we're in AI, that we're in gaming, that we're in all of these tech industries.
Sure, obviously, any major industry, you want people who agree with you in there. Sure, fine. Okay, fine. I'll give that to her.
That are absent anybody outside of the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. Why are they not doing that?
Obviously true.
Well, part of the reason, psychologically speaking, is that people on the right tend to have a different psychological profile. They tend to be pretty good at like running an office, not so good at being creative. This is generalization, obviously, but that's kind of... So the reason a lot of professions that involve creativity don't attract as many people on the right is people on the right generally, generalization, but are not as creative in that way.
Yeah.
Well, so the people running
Like coding?
the AI industry, they don't necessarily have to be creative. They can be very logical. They can be very math-centric, whatever it is. It doesn't need creatives at all. You should have some. But
I think we're also dealing with the idea that what's called creative has been warped.
also reject that idea that there's people. We also need to encourage people to be more creative on the right.
Tim, can you visualize an apple in your mind? I saw someone decrying Luma animating the girl with a pearl earring painting. They were saying that it's a desecration. Me, I can look at a painting and imagine what... I can do the same thing the AI is doing in my head, and I presumed people were doing that all the time. Like, I could just imagine that. The thing that's cool about Luma is that now you have something that previously you might only imagine or require great skill to do, to share with people, and you can all see the same thing. It hasn't unlocked my ability to visualize the girl with the pearl earring coming to life and moving around. I could already do that. It hasn't unlocked something new. It hasn't desecrated it. There's still the painting and that separately, but I could have done that in my head in the past. Or, through great effort and work and skill, created that animation, instead of just an AI that lets us share things.
I think one of the worst things we did was mock the liberal arts and say, well, it's so stupid to get a liberal arts degree. It's so stupid to care about those things. Well, guess who?
The degrees, mate. I don't know if I can agree with mocking the degrees is stupid. But disdain for high culture, sure, is silly. Mocking liberal arts degrees, that's based. Sorry.
Can runs it now. Not a damn Republican. And the same thing with AI. We mock it and shake the fist and whatever it is.
I just guess...
Sorry, in my mind, a stereotype of at least, I suppose, the libertarian part of the right. And some parts of conservatives, I guess. or some conservatives, is being fucking... The STEM lords are always fucking stereotyped as being chuds. Get a real fucking degree. Go into maths. Become an engineer.
What I'm saying is people like you and like us who are different and funny and like look
Go
at
on.
look at but look at us, like none of us is I don't know about you, but most people who I find who are like you will tend to find a lot of things that they disagree with on their own side, whereas what the tribe wants is a good little worker bee who's gonna, you know,
What did he just say?
I don't know about you, but most people who I find who are like you will tend to find a lot of things that they disagree with on their own side. Whereas what the tribe wants is a good little worker bee who's gonna, you know, hold the right flag and say the right things and vote.
Your side. He wasn't saying tribe in a context that made my fucking eyebrows go through the roof. All right. He's talking about the conservatives or the right. They want you to be a good little worker bee because you're a woman who's good at being oppressed. That's
the right way and not. Do you see what I mean?
And pop out a few kids.
Yes, but fundamentally,
Stop saying that. Fuck.
Still, no matter what I disagree with, yes, I think it's.
Is this what it's like for you guys? Is this what it's like for you guys when I used to call people like an ex-lord? And I used to say, damn, that's X-pilled, that's Y-pilled, that's Z-pilled. Is her saying fundamentally this much like me saying that? Thank you for the sub of Father Salvo, please.
Ridiculous that they're talking about these Andrew Tateisms, and that's become like a pillar in our attention economy on the right. Fundamentally, we all agree on the same things, right?
Our attention economy on the right. I think, look, seems like we have a huge focus online. Oh, sorry, on things that are online. The online right is pretty fractious.
Migration is a really big problem. Free speech is a core fundamental value. We haven't really diverted on those core fundamental values. I think all of this is just noise.
Well, if we focus, sorry to interrupt, if we focused on those things that you'd find the overwhelming majority of the country actually agreed on.
Yes.
If we focus on those things.
That's a bigger threat. Mass migration is a bigger threat. I mean, historically, throughout history, again, you want to go back to the Roman Empire and the mass migration of the Huns and the Germanic tribes. I mean, it's going to lead to what I believe is the fall of the American Empire, is this mass migration and the fall of the West.
I think generally they'd say they're pro-free speech, though. But give exceptions. I don't know. I don't pay a broad enough attention to all the different groups.
Yeah, I also see as well, like the right.
There are definitely people who would go, look what they've done to us, so now we can do this to them. Which many people consider an abandonment of it as a principle, surely. But,
Right, and you've touched on it, but I sometimes see the stuff the right talks about and go.
Let me go back.
That's
What is the right that's being talked about? Again, I'm losing track.
Mass migration is a bigger threat. I mean, historically, throughout history, again, you want to go back to the Roman Empire and the mass migration of the Huns and the Germanic tribes. I mean,
yeah, but why is the mass migration being permitted? You think all of this is unrelated? Okay.
It's going to lead to what I believe is the fall of the American Empire, is this mass migration and the fall of the West.
Yeah, I also see as well, like the right, and you've touched on it, but I sometimes see the stuff the right talks about and go, why are you banging on about this all the time? All the time. Look, the trans thing is important, and of course protecting kids.
Yeah, we'd never have lots of people
to talk about it. But they constantly talk about it like it's the only thing to talk about. And you go, it is important, but it's not the most important. There are...
Is it effective to talk about it, though? If we're talking about electoral politics?
Other things that we need to discuss, but they have their very set topics, And they kind of don't deviate away from that. And you want to say to them, do you not think that there is other things here to discuss? But they can't seem to do that because it's like they've applied these blinkers and like, no, we are just going to talk about this.
Because it's the attention economy. That gets eyeballs, that gets this. And we need like a Dave Ramsey for the attention economy. You know, like stop spending, you need to budget your attention. You need to have it here or there or whatever it is. And when you turn on Fox News, and there was one time I was on Fox and they had me talking about Dolly Parton. I'm like, why are we talking about Dolly Parton right now?
I have a feeling you don't know why you're saying things often, but
We're talking about Dolly Parton's outfit like this is E. Or this is ridiculous and absurd. But we keep giving these people our attention. We keep giving these people our money. No matter how many times we see what they're doing is...
That's based. Wait, what people are we talking about? I am an apolitical video game streamer. You can continue to give me money. It's fine.
Fundamentally horrible and bad, because at the end of the day, as much as we want to say we're principled and we believe these things, I think we're actually lazy and will sacrifice all of our morality and our morals for comfort. Absolutely. It's like when you had all of these Republicans.
Again, it's been a... Oh, we've done a little zigzag. What are we coming to this regarding? What have we come to this regarding?
Who were cheering on the Bud Light boycott as they're having Amazon packages arrive at
okay.
And it's like, okay, so you boycotted Bud Light because of Dylan Mulvaney.
I thought it was going somewhere else with Dill. Okay. We've hit... People lack the will to commit to an effective boycott. That's what we've gotten to. Okay.
Well, you're giving
How
Jeff
did we get
Bezos
here?
money. This guy who like fundamentally is ideologically different to everything that you're doing, who has a monopoly on government contracts, who has a monopoly on web services and AI and owns the Washington Post. You're going to give your money to him day in and day out. All of these people have Amazon packages coming to their door as they're boycotting Bud Light. Because I think that is a really big ill of capitalism, is the consumerism that follows and the comfort that follows.
Damn. Deep thoughts. Deep thoughts. What if your issue is specifically Bud Light, though?
We've essentially put a lot of people in like consumerist hospice. Like they're paying just to be comfortable. And the only place typically that you would see that is hospice. Like you'll pay to be comfortable until you die. And that's kind of what people have chosen willingly, just to be comfortable, and they're sacrificing their life and their morality and the life of our children and the future of humanity for this comfort and consumerism that I think is just...
I'm finding this very hard to follow. People are just paying to be comfortable. We evolved to this point from people won't stick to a boycott because they are soft and prefer comfort. So if they want that thing, they'll ultimately fold. If they want something and they should logically, rationally boycott it, they'll just go for it if they want it. Too hollow? I think it's been expressed too vaguely.
It's going to be our downfall, I think.
Yeah, that craving for comfort is the enemy of growth.
Yes.
Yeah, great Andrew Tate point. Great point.
Personally and spiritually.
Yes.
And it disappoints me that the right have gone this way, because the...
Said Reggie fed the streamer a $2 superberry. You really see how she just repeats her X feed.
Her X feed. It does feel a bit like scrolling.
Right, traditionally, have always been about personal development. They've always been about taking responsibility for your actions, you know, self-fulfillment, all of these things. And you look at kind of the way they're going now, and you're going, you're just a different form of moron to the left.
Yes.
That's all it seems to be. Not all of them, of course.
No, it's a fringe. That's why I call them the woke right, because it's a fringe on the left and the right.
But what they are is they're becoming disproportionate.
Has that caught on? Are people saying this? Are people saying the woke right? I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Proportionately more powerful.
Well, louder online, I think.
No, I think it's actually just becoming it's becoming harder to criticize them. Because
Yes.
they've conflated
Oh.
criticism with them to criticisms of like principles and ideas.
Yes.
So if you criticized, someone on the right
I don't give a fuck if that's conflated. How does that stop me?
in the petite bourgeoisie for the way they spend their money or this or that, well, now you're an enemy of capitalism. Well, you know what? I get to spend my money however I want. And it's like, no, you're actually like a greedy son of a bitch that we should probably shame into oblivion.
Hey, no one deserves that. But at least it's better than being shamed into Skyrim.
But they've conflated criticisms of themselves with criticisms of a movement or principles that's just not true. So I think it's just become a lot harder to criticize
Figureheads deflect! Yeah, always have, always will.
those
This isn't some crazy evolution.
who really need to be removed.
It's so funny you say that. I've told the story, Francis heard it a few times because it just amused me so much. So you know how I wrote an article about Tucker?
Yeah.
I praised him for some things, but I criticized some of the things that he did in Russia on a factual basis. Like I just said, they weren't true. I was uninvited from a party that I'd been invited to for that. And I was just like, you guys don't see? Like you spent 6 years talking about the importance of diversity of opinion.
How dare you? How dare you? He's our god. He's our, he stuck it to Fox News, right? Like no, you're not allowed to do that.
Let's talk about one issue.
I don't know, if stuff like this surprises you, I guess you just have had your eyes closed for a long time.
That I think Tucker would agree with us on, which it would be an issue you just talked about, which is illegal immigration. Because mass immigration is a somewhat separate conversation for me. Like, I think Elon is right that having lots of talented and driven people come into a country, particularly like the US, where there is space.
I had no idea.
And there is land and there's the ability to build infrastructure quickly if you put your mind to it, et cetera, et cetera. Separate conversation. But illegal immigration, which is something you've been focusing on a lot, it's insane.
It's out of control. And I don't think most people understand the scale of it. For example, I think it was like 12 million immigrants who came through Ellis Island, like for over the 60 years that Ellis Island is operating. And just under the Biden administration, they're estimating between 7 and 10 million illegal immigrants have come in. So
Ellis
we have more
Island.
people, almost more people coming here illegally.
Is Ellis Island what I think it is? Yeah! I watched a few videos about the food served on Ellis Island. Just as an aside. Just
under the Biden administration than the entirety of Ellis Island. And, just from an infrastructure standpoint, we can't sustain that. New York City alone, we're going to spend $12 billion.
Look. I double check names. You may have noticed it's a pattern. I double check just to make sure. What do you mean, how do I not know? I do know! I was double checking that I knew! Alright?
With a B, $12 billion into fiscal year 2025, dealing with this migrant crisis. And most people, they don't understand just the volume of people coming in and where they're coming in. They're
Immigration in the UK is wild as well, though. Every once in a while, there'll be a day where everyone in town is black, and I've never seen them before. It's really strange. Like, buses show up, and then suddenly, for like a day or two, everyone is black, and there's someone I've never seen before. And then they all, like, dissipate. And then you end up with, like, one or two stragglers saying, "Hello, I'm immigrant. Can help me find church." Where is the church?
There's this misconception that they're all coming from Mexico or wherever, and it's not. Our southern border is an open border to the world. We've seen a 900% increase in Chinese nationals. We're seeing immigrants from Africa, from the Middle East, from all
Chinese?
over. They're flying down.
The Chinese are coming in from Mexico?
To these South American countries and being aided by a lot of American NGOs to come here. But again,
Jesus,
it's
what the
not just
fuck?
unique to
No, I was unaware about China in particular.
America. They had this playbook in Europe. It happened in Europe. Every time I go to Europe and I talk to people, like in Italy, it's the
Oh, so you have a similar issue to what the UK had with being in the EU meant everyone comes in because they go to another country in the EU and then come here. You've got that, but with Mexico. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware it's that bad.
same problem. It's these NGOs that are funding this mass immigration of illegals into the countries, and the NGOs are helping them, and they're all doing it under the claim of asylum.
But see, the NGOs are going to, there's a bunch of dumb people who are really motivated by compassion and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, some people are refugees and do need help. The problem is the government.
Some people are refugees and do need help. They still can't come in! Anyway, I do watch this chat, yes, Sam.
Government's supposed to be in charge of this.
But I think that's dangerous too.
Tell
I
me why.
have to stop you on,
Oh,
you know, there are
oh.
some people who need help. Well, where do you draw that line of what help we should give? Because what the left will do is they'll say, okay, well, that comes from a point of privilege. Basically, the whole world needs help if you compare it to America. The whole world is hungry. The whole world is
No,
this.
no, I'm not talking about economic migration. I'm talking about, generally speaking, when people are fleeing persecution, war.
But what does that mean?
Persecution. It means
Well-
when someone is trying to kill them.
Yes, but what does that
Not-
mean? Because they blurred that line. Is
No,
why I
I-
want to
I-
get an exact definition.
Fine. Well, what I'm saying is, for example, people fleeing Hong Kong because they're pro-democracy protesters. People fleeing Ukraine because they're fleeing war, right? I don't have a problem with people who are aligned to our culture, who don't hate our societies, who are going to come and integrate, learn the language in limited numbers that we voted to have, right? There's a democratic mandate for that. There's a lot of history in accepting refugees in those small numbers. A lot of the Jewish community here in New York are a product of that sort of system, right?
Uh-oh.
So I don't.
She can't say anything now. She's done. She's cooked.
I think a small number of people who are carefully selected because they genuinely are A, fearful for their lives, and B, beneficial to the societies that they're going to come to. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is you open the border and you don't check who's coming. As you say, most of those people are not fleeing genuine persecution at all. And we don't know who they are. And as you say, in Europe, we have exactly the same problem in the UK, in France, in Italy, and other places. But anyway, we got sidetracked because you were saying what I said is dangerous, which I don't think.
Let anyone in, but like, you have to survive like the Hunger Games first.
It's true. I think eroding that boundary.
Someone who is truly running on adrenaline will beat 50 other would-be immigrants in a battle royale. That's how you identify the true refugees.
Is dangerous. I think allowing a small number of people in because they're genuinely in fear of their lives.
Well, we have to be really precise and say in fear for their life, or
Yeah.
you know, they're fleeing violence or whatever it is.
Yeah, they didn't
because,
convert to Christianity 2 days ago suddenly.
because when we
It's a little crack, you force the crowbar in, you rip it open.
say they need help, we want to help people, that is really dangerous and has been weaponized by the left, this help. We need
It would have been nice nice of her to say, like, why isn't Mexico good enough? Why isn't Mexico good enough?
to help people.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What people do we help and where do we draw that line?
What I'm saying is,
And if Mexico isn't good enough, if Mexico's too dangerous, okay, then surely every Mexican can come in if Mexico is too dangerous for someone fleeing for their life to stay there. Surely everyone in Mexico is in too much danger and would count as being in imminent risk.
I don't think that line is at zero. I think
Yeah.
there are some people that we might choose democratically to say, you know, we as a rich country will happily welcome, I don't know, 30,000 Christians fleeing persecution in the Middle East a year.
Well, I would agree. And again, I'm pro-legal immigration as well. I've always said this for years. But again, the issue is this asylum. We're not vetting them.
Yeah.
We don't
Oh,
actually
totally.
care if they're
Yeah, that's insane.
genuine claims for asylum. And because there's international treaties for these refugees and whatever, it's really hard to stop it.
Right. So that was my point, right? NGOs are going to NGO. It's the government's job to set the rules and then to enforce the rules. Why do you think that
But
isn't
who
happening?
funds the NGOs?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Tell me.
The government. I mean, most of these NGOs are heavily funded by the United States government as well,
Right.
or international agencies, international government agencies. So I don't even know why most of them are called NGOs, because they don't really
They're
exist.
GOs, yeah.
Yes, they're GOs, because they don't exist without the funding of the government. And it's become, especially NGOs and nonprofits, have really become a
right.
vector for the government to do unspeakable and horrible things with a lack of transparency. Because guess what? I get to hide so much with a 501c3 or an NGO. That is the best way to hide whatever the hell I'm doing. And they know this. And so they do this. And we don't really have some like nationwide audit of, hey, are you actually charitable? Hey, where is all your money going? Why do we allow people who are at charitable 501c3s to be paid $2 million a year? That's fundamentally insane when you
I'm
think
saying
of the purpose
fundamentally.
of a 501c3 or charity. Or
She's doing the thing where she's throwing out every little nugget. They're paying themselves so much money. Are we going to now, and I presume we're going to go on some kind of tangent. Some kind of tangent. Because normally when you criticize them for criticizing the head of an organization like this, the admin of an organization like this, you're suggesting that they're not actually using the money for what it should be used for. They're undermining their cause. Well, if you want their cause to fail, good, they're paying themselves $2 million.
or anything like that. So I think the NGOs are a really big problem because it's essentially money washing. They're money laundering a lot through these NGOs. There is so much money in NGOs. That's why every billionaire has a 501(c)(3)
Billionaire.
or a nonprofit or whatever it is. There's so much money washing and
Siffy, imagine, I would scream, I would shriek laughing if she suddenly said, for example, there's this guy called Gerard Khalil.
laundering that goes on through these NGOs.
Yeah, I would also say as well, there's another point which I think America does have a moral obligation to take in certain types of refugees. For instance, let's look at Afghanistan. There's a lot of people in Afghanistan who actually risk their lives to help America because they wanted to see a positive change in Afghanistan. They wanted to see the...
And then they come in, and then you go, well, look, they deserve to be here. And you know what? It's unethical to separate them from their family. And look, all their families back there, so we've got to get their family in. But their families, their extended families, their connections, it's unethical to, force them to be separated. They can come in. Consider the Gurkhas here.
Taliban eradicated and taken completely away from power, America withdrew. Some of these people were murdered, and actually by the Taliban because they saw them as being traitors. And I really think America should have done more to help those people.
Yes, I agree.
We need to go back in. We need to return, not to tradition, but to Afghanistan.
But however, when you think from a technical standpoint, right, you're like, well, we should let in all these people who were actually really good to America and they actually believe these things. Well, how do you vet that?
Well, if they were
technically-
translators for the US forces.
Technically, what do you do? At what scale do you have to increase our legal immigration facilities and bureaucracy and whatever? And how do they vet that? Is it because someone told a good story? Do we need an investigator to go down and see if they're actually
No,
telling
but
the
if
truth?
you were a translator that was
Yeah.
attached to US forces, you probably shouldn't be left to your own devices once the Taliban take over.
But
Right?
I just think it's at scale really hard to vet a lot of these claims. It's almost impossible.
She should ask them, how many people are we talking, like 100 people? Like, what do you mean? How precise are we getting? And how official do they have to be helping in how official a capacity would they have had to have been aiding the US?
possible to vet a lot of the sincerity of a lot of these claims. So I don't know that even that, I would agree with you. Yes, that ideally sounds awesome, but practically, that's kind of how we're in the situation that we're in now, because there's just not a way to vet that at scale. There's not a way to vet millions of people at scale, which it ends up becoming. If you say
Any gaming today? I don't play games. Games are a psyop to turn you gay and trans. Look what's happened to me.
there's not millions of people in the world who are fleeing violence,
Bro, I can't play video games. I still can't.
you know, there definitely are. There's millions of people. So at scale, if we're actually thinking practically, how do we implement a system to vet these people? You don't. It just doesn't happen. So, you know, again, where do you draw the line?
I think what you need to do is have a full, frank, and honest conversation where there are people who decide, who go, look, we can't take everybody in. Looking at our infrastructure, looking at our economy, we can take X amount. Certain percentage of them are going to be refugees. We're going to...
It feels so, I don't know, how do I describe it? Feels so cucked and on the back foot that what's being discussed here is, well, it feels what's being, my interpretation of what's being discussed is, well, all these illegals that are coming in, we have to take some of them. And the discussion seems to be, how many of these illegals will we turn into legal immigrants before cutting off the rest? Is this not what we're saying? Illegal immigration is a gigantic issue. We need to discuss how many of these people we say it's actually okay to let in. Come on now. You're the other side to the open borderoids? Come on.
Prioritize people who've actually worked with, helped and supported the US in places like Afghanistan. They're going to take priority. And you just have to...
And he's saying prioritize them, not only take them.
Accept that you wanted to be in government. And part of being in government, in fact, a large part of it, is actually making unpleasant, unpopular decisions. And if you want the part where people know you and you're the one making those decisions, then you've got to accept that part of what you do is going to be unpleasant and you're going to be hated. And the fact that people are going to call you racist and white supremacist, I'm sorry, that's just an excuse. Get over it.
That would be really easy if we didn't make careers out of being politicians and bureaucrats. They're not incentivized to do that. They're actually incentivized to do the opposite. Politicians and bureaucrats, they need us to like
Yeah, he's saying what they need to do is that, though.
them for as long as possible, or they're thrown to the dogs. They need us to like them. That is actually a fundamental part of their entire job, is being likable. We don't encourage courage or bravery, like I said, because they have to be liked. Their entire livelihood depends on being liked.
Do you know what, Ashley? I think more and more people are starting to move away from that. I think, you know, the number of people that I spoke to, you know, in...
It's time to bring down the hammer on illegal immigration and finally say how many of these people more we're going to take. Stop it.
Places like Texas and even in New York, where people are going, look, I don't like Trump. I'll be honest with you, I think he's an arsehole. But he was better than what we've got now. And that's why I'm going to vote for him. I think we're getting to that point. I think people are sick of mealy-mouthed politicians who essentially have no backbone and are not prepared to make difficult decisions. I think
mealy-mouthed would probably be an upgrade to Joe, but
I think people are starting to get to the point, maybe I'm wrong, where they're going, you know what, I just want someone to be a leader. They don't have to be the nicest person in the world. I just don't want 100,000 people dying from fentanyl.
You disagree with this, though. You think...
Because of the illegal immigration bringing in drugs. Okay. That reference makes sense. Okay.
I think Republicans are going to lose the election.
I'm not as optimistic as some people that Trump is going to win. And part of that is the way that the media is talking about Trump, is that...
Wait. Confiscate fentanyl. You can come in... You're offered 3 cups of lean. If you drink the right one, you get in.
You know, you had these people who were fudging poll numbers all throughout 2016, 2020, and now all of a sudden, and I think I spoke briefly about this recently, but especially with the Iowa caucus, they're calling the caucus for Trump within a minute of voting. By all professional standards, we've never seen that before. So when you have the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, all of these people calling it for Trump and showing polls where Trump is leading by double digits, I think this is another form of voter suppression because they know that if Republicans think they're
They're trying to make you complacent.
leading by double digits,
Potentially.
they're going to be fat and lazy and they're not going to vote. I think they know that if Republicans don't feel some sort of exigency and like there's some imminent threat, they're not going to vote. They're like, we got it in the bag. Of course, nobody wants 4 more years of Biden. I think that's my...
Are there studies on this? Is this real? Does this, like, I can imagine this. I can theory craft. You make people think they're ahead, they don't go out to vote. Do we have any studies on this actually occurring? Goat Fuckers was auto-modded. Right. Do we know that that actually happened to Hillary? I get the vibes that must have happened, that happened to agree. It feels like it did. Do we actually know that's real?
concern going into 2024.
Because vibes don't matter.
I would say maybe that's true,
in
but
this
then
scenario.
How much power do these organizations have now? Is it that they're still ultra powerful, or is their power radically diminished? And
Which organizations?
Like the New York Times, MSNBC. I mean, they're nowhere near as powerful as they used to be.
So they're not going to have a generational stronghold like they may have before. So you know, the boomers' kids are not going to find as much sincerity in the New York Times and CNN as maybe previously before Trump, you know, blew the lid off of it and we're like, oh, you guys don't tell the truth all the time. But they do have a stronghold on the older voting generation. That's what they're watching and reading every single day. Is these
Boomers watch this stuff, okay? Start there, okay, true.
mainstream media outlets, and these are the people who vote, because as politically charged as Gen Z is in activism, historically, the younger generations just don't vote. They'll vote some, but not in the way that the older generations and the boomers do.
They got better things to do.
As far as I'm aware, this is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have the world at their fingertips.
They're busy
on their
out there
phone.
not having sex.
Yeah.
Not having sex, playing video games, you know, posting on Instagram.
The really funny thing is when all the people who've been let into the country aren't getting what they came into the country for anymore and flip to the right. That'll be real fun. That'll be real fun coming down the pipeline. That shit's gonna fucking rule.
Making TikToks.
And watching other people have sex.
Yes. So I just
Cuck generation, true.
yeah, they still do have a really strong hold on the boomer mindset. Like, especially when I talk to my grandmother or, you know, my parents, they'll say, oh, I saw this on the news. And we might scoff at that and say, well, why are you reading that? They still very much find these, you know, that's where they get their news. Where else are they going to go to? They are going to have a brain aneurysm opening acts. You know, they're like, what is happening? It's like, they're...
Nah, Tripoli, I'm looking forward to the religious, the fundamentalist religious right wars of the 2040s. But it's gonna be Muslims versus Hindus in the US.
Walking into a casino and they're on drugs. They're on LSD in a casino is like boomers opening social media. They're like, what's going on? So they're still very much, oh, look, my top 5 headlines for the day.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of angry boomers in the comments.
The boomers are going to be so mad. They're like, I'm on X just fine. But, you know, they're not on TikTok. They're not on Instagram. They're not on these.
I'm not on TikTok.
Exactly, because it's.
Or maybe that's me presuming. At the very least, look, okay. I'm looking for the Muslim versus Hindu wars of the 2040s in the UK at least, and I can only imagine it will occur everywhere else as well.
It's too much
It
for
is.
so many people. So yeah, they still have, to go back, yes, they still have an instrumental amount of power in terms of voting. You know, when I have my grandmother asking me if Elon Musk is really a Nazi, yes, I think they have an instrumental amount of power as in terms.
I feel like it's an anecdote, but also it's a terrible anecdote. Hindus and Sikhs clash?
Of voting.
I don't know if they are here. I keep hearing about Hindus versus Muslims here, though.
That's really interesting. And one of the things I actually really wanted to talk to you about, Ashley, is, you know,
where I'm at and the areas around where I'm at, the Hindus and the Sikhs seem to all be clustered together.
I kind of thought 10 years ago, we're kind of done with the conversation about...
But they, I'm hearing now and then in the news, particularly the, what's the name of the Hindu group? The, you know, the ultra-religious, despite not being in India, very hyper-nationalistic. What am I talking about? Hindutva might be the one. Not sure how to pronounce it, but that is probably the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, sometimes they'll be yelling what is it? Rama, like they're like Rama Shri or whatever the fuck they yell it is. And then the Muslims are like, how can they do this? This is meant to be like a religiously liberated country, and they're treating this place like they own it. Just shut up. Just shut up.
Anti-Semitism. And now it seems on the left, we've just seen it, you know, absolutely come back in full force. But I'm starting to see it on the right as well, where I'm going, I didn't expect it from your guys.
I've always said anti-Semitism is a bipartisan position.
Yes, and especially what's characterizing it now. First of all, we just can't catch a break, can we? But what's characterizing it now is really Marxism, and it's hard not to laugh at the institutions like Columbia being taken over by these people. And you have the Jewish professors. I think it was David Shea.
It's the last 3 minutes. They can break out the little hats.
You're one of them who, you know.
No one watches this far. No one watches this far.
He had his card turned off at Columbia. And if you go back and you see his tweets and his posts from during the height of the BLM riots, he's saying, well, we don't need police and we should defund them. And all of a sudden he's like, where are the police? The Marxists have taken over the institutions that I raised them in, you know? And it's fundamentally to me, yes, there are some people who think it's actually the Jews that like run the world and this and that. But I think it is inherently anti-white and anti-West rhetoric.
Yes.
That's really, it's Marxism at its core.
Yes.
It really doesn't, the Jews are just really easy to say it about because, you know, they do run so much. It's like, oh, look, it must be them. They're at the top. In the same way,
it feels like, to certain people, this might feel like she's mocking them.
It mimics a lot of the DEI conversations. It's like, well, the problem must be white men since they're a majority of CEOs. It mimics that in a lot of ways. But I don't think the issue is fundamentally this circa 1930s issue. I think it really is Marxism.
Have you guys seen this? The strat of like going whitoids. You understand anti-Semitism. It's just like the anti-white stuff you're going through, right? It feels like it happened like real fast. Am I crazy?
I think it really is this anti-white rhetoric, this anti-oppressor rhetoric that we need to redistribute everything. Because again, at all of these institutions, it's happening at all.
I don't disagree that it's similar, Siffy. I don't disagree that you can make this parallel. But it's happened very suddenly and has become a point, like, strategically.
The universe.
So Jews are white now, says Debony. They can turn it on and off at will, and you can't question it, okay? It's like the special power. Like, you ever played EverQuest or Dungeons and Dragons? If you look at like the history, like the ethnic power sheet,
cities, that they're being the perfect little Marxist soldiers that you train them to be.
the really fun thing though, is when you catch. There's a fun thing, you can look for this, you might see it. You can sometimes find people on like Black Twitter and let's say the more progressive places online in dark corners. You can see white and white people being used as a dog whistle to mean Jews. That's my like, holy fuck.
Of course they are. The woman who, if you saw the video, there was the video of the woman who's like, we need humanitarian aid.
That's my favorite evolution of it.
After they took over Colombia, we need water, we need food. This woman, I shit you not, her focus, she was an assistant teacher, something like that. PhD student with an emphasis in poetry through
Like, there are the people who say things about white people that are the same as is said about Jews often. But then there are the people saying it about white people and they mean Jews. That's wild.
Marxian lens. That's not a joke. That's not a Babylon Bee headline. That is reality. This woman had she was a PhD student for poetry and imagination through a Marxian lens. That is exactly what's happening, because I'm watching the same people who are rioting and looting through BLM and destroying my city. Now they're sitting here and they're saying, from the river to the sea. It has nothing to do with Palestine, just like it had nothing to do with the Black community and what they were going through either. I actually think the actual issue is being completely obfuscated. The real issues in the Black community were completely ignored and obfuscated. The real issues for the Palestinians are completely obfuscated and ignored.
Wait, sorry, I missed it. Is she saying it's all just anti-Semitism?
And you have these spoiled little rich kid brats asking for humanitarian aid at Columbia University, where they're paying, an ungodly amount of money.
All right.
So,
well, all this humanitarian aid talk is making me hungry. So
need some humanitarian aid.
Yeah, let's order some from Uber Eats.
You've been in America too.
Oh, that just ended there? I thought she was going to say something else.
It's been great having you
More
on.
explicit.
We will ask you a bunch of questions from our supporters that they've already submitted that only they will get to.
The white people version of ADL is called the Anti-Immigration League.
See on Locals in a second, but we always end our conversations with the same question, which is, what's the one thing we're not talking about that we really should be?
AI, absolutely AI, and how we can have our
that we're not talking about. I don't know. I don't think I live in this reality where it's not being talked about.
Principles, especially as it relates to free speech and liberty, how we can apply that to this new world that's run by
I don't know. I talked about AI and implications for speech, and it didn't go too well for me a few years ago.
AI and robots. So I think that's what we absolutely need to focus on.
Awesome. Well, head on over to Locals where we continue the conversation. How does fear of losing subscribers?
What was your take? Yamo! Relative newbie identified. Relative newbie identified. What do you mean you became God? True. Pay these guys money. We've stolen 2 of their pieces of content. I made it all the way through. ChatGPT says, no. It would not be acceptable to arrest all gamers based solely on their involvement in video game lobbies, or groups like Gamergate. Arrests should only be made with probable cause. Thank you for standing up for the gamers. You need a palate cleanser? I might have a palate cleanser, but we're not gonna go too much longer. I recognize it's only been 2.5 hours, but I have lived here in the UK since I was 6, and it is 21 degrees, and it's gonna be ramping up, and dog. I'm not doing too good. Do Squid Guy... Oh, you mean Klaus. Is Klaus even doing anything? Shout out, by the way, to the 3 viewers on Kick. Shout out to the 3 viewers on Kick. I am on that platform. By the way, Monopoly Go. You have until Wednesday to get as far as you can and to do a spin with a 50 multiplier. If you wait until there's that weird multiplier event and then you go online and get the free codes for dice, you can get a 50 spin and I get $25. What is this link? Nah, Omniuke is gonna be fine, okay? Nightmare Club just took too fucking long, and I realized once I ran dry of short stories I was interested in, I was like, wait, how do I do a book? Do I do it chapter by chapter? Well, chapters vary wildly in length, and so on and so forth. Right. Let me see what I have in my folder. Read Cat in the Hat. Also, I didn't really enjoy doing Nightmare Club. Omniuke is going to have no schedule. We got Folding Ideas versus AVGN. All this shit is so long. Okay, I'll give you one bit of gamer content. Are you ready? Thank you, Thovark. Everyone for Salvo, please. I doubt there's a Klaus update. He just streams, it doesn't have videos. Right. So, wait, excuse me. Le African Gooner posted Bukayo Saka's girlfriend, Talami Benson, in the stands wearing his first Arsenal squad number. Picture of a girl, and Del Walker, which is a name some of you might recognize, previously of Naughty Dog, Rocksteady Games, and Respawn, says, "There's been a handful of times I've pitched black women characters that look like this. Then after 10 iterations, the concept or model comes back without a speck of the original beauty I pitched." Right? Uglification discussed. Uglification discussed. Guess what his next tweet says? I'm not talking about mild changes. I'm talking about pose, aura, style, softness, age, and flair. I hate giving Gamergate men fuel. Why? You're saying it's true and it's being done with your work. But it's very difficult to pitch beautiful or vain black women in games without them coming back like grocery store aunties. There is room for both. No, the problem is only the race. Gamergate is wrong. There's no overall trend. It's just the blackness part is what matters, okay? This only ever happens with black women, okay? So Gamergate, you're wrong. It only happens to me and only with black women, okay? There's no broader push or trend. Gamergate men, you idiots. Just look, I'm not gonna look. I hate giving these people fuel, but they're right. Shut up. Just say it. Just say it. Do a live reply now? To what?
Hi, friends.
I don't want to look at this. What is this? Miss Lily's Trans 101 for Parents, Kids and Toys. Read the quote tweet of this. Quote tweet. What the fuck is that? By the way, I wasn't talking about this. I wasn't being rude to this beautiful woman. Alright, we'll look at this video and then we'll look at these tweets. That one is spicy as hell. What is this? I haven't pre-screened this. This is something I've been sent.
Hi friends.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about something super important. What it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy.
I thought transgender people were extra into makeup. What am I looking at here?
Easy to understand. Ready to learn?
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I think this is parody.
First thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think.
That would probably... yeah. Honestly, in the face of this video, that's great advice.
Do you feel like a...
First, close your eyes. Now pull down your pants.
boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Do you have...
Hey, do you want to confuse the fuck out of your kids? In your soul, do you feel like a man or a woman? At the heart of your being, what color water comes out of the gender well? Just...
Have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who
Personally, no, but I'm built different.
feel like this are transgender. And if you're not transgender, it's super easy to be friends with someone who is. Let's take...
It can be, it cannot be. Depends. People are varied, okay?
our imaginary friend Theo.
Look at the eyes. Got that ring light ring.
For example, one day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes, and then they tell you that they want to be called Luna instead of Theo. This is so
And then they tell you how to sign up to Discord.
exciting for our friend Luna.
True. The pinhole pupils as well.
Because they finally get to be their true self. And if you accidentally call Luna by their old name, make sure
I'm going to fucking kill you.
to say a big sorry and that you'll do better next time. As you
Or you're in danger.
can see, transgender people are just like you and me. They're our friends.
Sometimes. Shows I'm not the only creator answering your burning questions. Misgendered steak. Oh god, the bottom surgery. Polyamory 101. Here we go. Is that for kids as well? We've got Trans 101 for kids. Is this going to be targeted to adults or kids? It's not working. It doesn't work. You're protected. You're protected. What is this Miss Lily channel? So is... Oh, Miss Rachel. Okay, so it's like a parody of Miss Rachel. Never mind. Okay. Hang on. Oh, it's TikTok being angry I don't have an account. I gotcha. Hold up.
Starts now.
Hang on.
Polyamory 101 starts now. Let's take
Right.
the hypothetical example of Bob and Michelle, a monogamous married couple. While they're very happy together, Michelle realizes that her needs are not completely fulfilled by Bob. She voices these concerns to Bob, suggesting that, with open communication, of course, they might both be happier with a different arrangement. Bob is hesitant at first, but Michelle is making good points, and if strengthening their relationship
Making good points. They're flipping so many things. that should be about rational reasoning, logic, to emotional thinking, and so many things that are deeply about emotions to rational argument. Oh, relationship stuff. Yeah, that's about making ironclad logical arguments. Debating your partner into them staying with you while you fuck other people. Okay.
Relationship is a possibility, he's open to trying. The following Friday, Michelle goes on a date with Kim, while Bob goes on a date with Jane. At the end of the night, Michelle and Bob reconvene and discuss their dates. Turns out that Michelle and Kim held hands, while Bob and Jane shared a kiss. And to Michelle's surprise, she feels a little jealous. But Bob, having done his research now,
reminds Jane that maybe she could learn to enjoy that.
Reminds Michelle that his love for her is unwavering, and his date with Jane doesn't change that. And as far as jealousy...
Wait, did he say he said that as a result of research?
...feels a little jealous. But Bob, having done his research... now, reminds Michelle that his love for her is unwavering.
Yeah, but he's saying that because he read it in a fucking book. What do you mean he said that having done his research?
And his date with Jane doesn't change that. And as far as jealousy goes, Bob suggests...
Congratulations, you've been mind-fucked by some basic writing.
...that they go on a special date the following night, just the two of them, where they can reaffirm their love for each other. As time goes on, Michelle realizes that she is happy seeing Bob happy, regardless if it's with her or with Jane. This is called compersion. It's how...
This is called cuckoldry.
Polyamory works long term. And likewise, she is more happy overall with both Bob and Kim, her new girlfriend, in her life.
It's called being a cuck. Alright. What do we have? It's that trans girl magic. Trans girl eats at Disney. Kurt was trans. Transition with me. Here's one for you.
This phone call today. They called me up and they said, hey, your bottom surgery date is on this day. You good with that? I said, yes.
Oh, a date for surgery. I thought it meant like a date to go out on a date. I wanted the tea. It's a spicy tortellini. Trans Spider-Gwen. Yada, yada, yada. What is this? Millistream. Is Stefan Nee still doing stuff? I'm not putting that on stream. Okay, Livingston? I'm not putting that on the stream. Like, that could be a problem. Oh, I clicked it and it wanted me to fucking log in. Sure, fine. Not Stefan Nee, Steph on Nee. What is this? What do I type in here? What's a cool website? I typed in Sneed cheese. Oh shit, what's happening? There was a cultural reference check. Can I execute as a valid... Wait, do I just need to do it as a URL? ilovemahjong.com. It failed. Monkey type is good if you want to get good at typing fast. Discover the ancient game of strategy and skill. Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. Mahjong is like less than 200 years old. Anyway, one last thing. Have I seen the new X-Men cartoon? I don't watch cartoons. I watch movies and I watch TV shows with my girlfriend. But I don't really watch them that closely because it hurts my eyes. All right, one last thing to look at before I go disappear for the night. Chad Felix Green. Who is this? Witchy team. Red State. Federalist. Okay. We're supposed to look at the interactions afterwards. Every man I had sex with when I was 14 knew I was 14 beforehand. LGBTQ culture has no socially imposed boundaries on it. They don't police themselves. They are too consumed with protecting their political causes and shaming right-wing bigots. Some specific and some broad. There certainly are individuals, and there will be smaller groups who do. There is a broad issue of caping, of sweeping for bad shit. Yes, sure. Because if you don't, you're helping the right. Teen sex work is the norm in LGBTQ centers. Large claim, but I guess you have to trust the lived experience. Trans icons glamorize being prostitutes as teens, and it's viewed as a rite of passage. I'm not into enough trans stuff. I have no idea. 13 to 17-year-olds are a high HIV risk group. I wouldn't be surprised. Progressives view children as sexual beings and independent from their parents. Some do, some don't. The people that could more cleanly definitely be called progressives. Maybe that's becoming more and more accurate with certain people dropping the term progressive for themselves. They're like the ever so slightly spicy Democrat that calls themselves a progressive. Maybe not. The progressives who are legit progressives, yes. Or one might say leftists. This is a culture, one protected from scrutiny, who are worthy of being called leftists. To make it even broader. In gay male culture is viewed as a kind of social acceptance and kindness. Older men took in teenage runaways, treating them as adults. Do you remember that shit in Germany where they deliberately gave pedophiles kids on the basis that they love them? Hey, look at the etymology of the word. Look at the etymology of the word. It just means love of children. Many left-wing gay men recall these first encounters fondly and see themselves as welcoming the next generation in a sex-positive environment. In previous generations, when a teenage boy ventured out to cruising areas or gay bars, this was how he found himself in his new community, ostracized from normal society. I got people mad at me for saying a kind of behavior was weird. There were two behaviors. I talked about beards being weird, and I talked about, like, this whole mentorship being weird, and people were like, no, it's totally normal. You're the fucking homophobe for saying, like, older gay men taking kids under their wings to teach them about sexuality. Is like, oh, that's fucking weird. Why are beards wrong? The woman you use to cover up that you're gay. Particularly in the situation where they don't know that that's what they are to you. I said, and I believe, that's pretty fucked. I think that's really bad, personally. As left-wing progressivism has advanced, sex positive is the norm. For queer activists, sex is an expression of resistance and social rebellion. Some, for many, maybe even for most, left-wing psychology has fully embraced the sexual child and the autonomy of teenagers. Gay male culture is built on youth sex and older men as daddies to sons. I don't look at this stuff, and I've seen a lot of the whole daddy and trans and drag culture have houses and families with older men as mothers. That fucking... Do you remember that house? Oh, what was the fucking news story? The fucking drag crack shack with the 2 kids who were rescued or whatever. Or maybe they weren't rescued. Maybe they were found. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? The crack shack with the 2 kids. Oh, this would have been years ago, potentially. Nick? No, not that one. Not that one. You're taking teens in exchange for prostitution. The dead body. Hold up. Four kids aged between 5 and 10 4 kids taken into care after being found at a drag party with a dead trans woman's body on the floor. And drugs and sex toys scattered throughout Hoarder Home. That is indeed what I remember, yes. My memory of it was a lot softer than the reality. I think I was defending myself. Houses and families with older men as mothers who taken teens in exchange for prostitution. The young boys bring in money and these houses compete against each other in drag events, etc. This feels like a guild in an Elder Scrolls game. Maybe that will be in Elder Scrolls 6. Fueled by drugs and sex work. Many trans icons recall their time as teenage prostitutes and the men who taught them with fondness, passing on their knowledge and experience to the new generation. All under a cultural idea that young LGBTQ kids will always be rejected at home and run away and need a new family. I've definitely seen this. And I've seen this push to leave your family and come to a true family who are what you need. This part of it I have seen. If you look at gay movies, I don't. And TV shows like Queer as Folk or Pose. I watched Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Does that count? You see this normalized and romanticized view of teenagers as sex objects. Pose is in 90s and New York City, featuring young teens who join a house and transition, competing in drag shows, all viewed as simply being LGBTQ. I was told the main event is to look at the retweets. Talked about this for years. So I sought comfort and understanding from older men, hoping to figure out my feelings. They wanted sex. I traded sex for a moment of affection in the hopes of friendship. Some boys my age went to gay bar. Okay. Just a lot of fucked stuff, including apparent personal experiences. I've been told. So look at the interactions or engagements. Reading all that. Someone called Trappy. Damn. Trappy is going much harder than this. Potential TOS. Yeah. I feel like this is dangerous for Twitch, okay? This is a good one. I like this one. This one's real good, in my opinion. I love this one. Not to be that feminist, but this isn't an LGBTQ problem, or a liberal problem, or a conservative problem. It's a male and male culture problem, just like war and violence is. But we don't want to talk about that. The common denominator is males. I like that one. That's my favorite one so far. Hard to believe, but it adds up. So I've seen experiences. Hey, what's that flag next to your name? There's a guy retweeting himself. Seems like I'm seeing all supporters of him. Do I need to go deeper in? May God destroy America as he did Sodom and Gomorrah. Yada yada yee. This is an incredible thread by a homo Zionist. What an endorsement. What an endorsement. Oh. Okay. I'm not seeing the I'm only seeing support for it. Except for the Turfoid, who wasn't really opposed to it. Anyway, folks, I'm melting, and I feel like because I've been melting. Wait, how to make any amp sound great? Are we talking about music? How to make any amp sound great? Record the DI and then EQ the fuck out of your signal until it sounds good coming out of the amp. Anyway, folks, I'm going to disappear for tonight. That's going to be all for tonight. Sorry for torturing you today. Tomorrow we have trans lesbian drama. I'm sorry. I'm going to torture you again. It's probably trans lesbian drama tomorrow and some other bits and pieces. God, I'm so sweaty. My eyes are melting out of my head. I'm going to go not look at screens. So I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for the viewership, the companionship, and the incredible generosity. I will see you all tomorrow with some more cringe. Till then, good night. Sleep tight. Don't let an older man who offers you guidance bite. Even if it's me.